Hello everyone and welcome to this week's broadcast of the Esports Tower Rumble in Overwatch. We are broadcasting it here from the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena, and it is time to kick off our Esports Tower Rumble Overwatch Week 3. And with the Overwatch 2 beta coming around this month, the Esports Rumble is throwing in a huge twist. They decided to get ahead of the curve, and so this whole scrim took place on a custom server that the Overwatch League, the OWL teams, have been using to get ready for Overwatch 2. So we have a huge changes, and it's going to be 5v5 like Overwatch 2 is going to be. I'm your host, Brenner Braylad, and joining with me to call all of the action is Colby D'Angelo Alloway. So with a huge change-up going into Overwatch 2, what are we looking and hoping to see here?
So first of all, we are super excited to be playing on the Overwatch 2 rules. I cannot be more hyped that we're doing that tonight. And the biggest change that I would say is one of the more impactful ones is Doomfist is now a tank hero with 500 HP and a bigger hitbox. It does still seem like, because of those changes listed, he does still have the one-shot kill ability, which would be huge for a tank and not necessarily in a good way, especially with CC being less prevalent in Overwatch 2. Like lots of CC heroes, for example, Mei, her CC now slows instead of just full stunning, and ultimately CC kind of feels bad in games, and so I understand why they're getting away from it, but Doomfist feels almost a little bit uncounterable the way things currently stand. But there's also some very big other hero changes, like Bastion and Sombra have the most significant changes that, I mean, Overwatch has talked about, and this is already public knowledge, this is not anything new, but Bastion now has the 10-second turret, right? The movable turret form, the sticky grenade instead of self-heal, and a semi-auto non-turret form, which is a difference from the way he currently shoots. And the ult is now 3 barrage charges instead of tank form. It's just like this airstrike that goes up and then comes down.
Mortar.
And then yes.
There you go.
Yes, that's the word, the mortar. Bastion is now a mortar instead of a tank.
There
and then Sombra, hack also marks, and the benefit of marking enemies is Sombra herself does more damage to them. That's one of the benefits. And EMP is now an instant cast. So from what we've seen so far, you can't stun Sombra out of an EMP. And honestly, only people in Overwatch League were fast enough at reacting to do that anyway. So I would say that is one of the less significant changes.
Yeah, and now she can also stay in stealth while hacking people. It's a just huge change, but with tonight's Rumble, we are also having the reveal of 3 new teams since this is a new setup for the Overwatch. So with the return of the Everest and the Cyclones, we're getting the 3 new teams of the Wolves, the Tornadoes, and the Tsunamis. So some exciting change in the roster. We are going to be looking at those 3 new teams, or 2 of those new teams tonight, with the first matchup going to be the Tsunamis taking on the Cyclones. So exciting matchup to look forward to, and a new debut for this team. So they're going to need all the help they can get, and we can give it to them through Doc's keys to the game. And in Overwatch, that's to never take a fair fight. But what does that mean? Take fights in unexpected places when they are unprepared, and of course, tempo, tempo, tempo. And these are presented by Esports Tower. Score pro advice at esportstower.com. Improve your game sense, improve your team play, and improve your performance under pressure. You'll get matched with great players and professional coaches to help you rank up. We are getting ready to jump into our first matchup of the Tsunamis taking on the Cyclones, with first map going to be Nepal. We're getting ready to kick off week 3 of this Rumble. It is entirely a new game as teams face off in a 5v5. As I mentioned, we're going to be starting off with Nepal, so let's see which team can adapt quickest. And with these new changes, it is going to be 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 heals.
And we are, again, super, super excited to see this 5v5. It looks like the Tsunamis are going to run the Winston versus the Cyclones running that Reinhardt. So we'll see which one, at least in theory here, is the better solo tank. I imagine Winston, just because he'll be able to get out more effectively than Reinhardt. And with the only Reinhardt change we've been aware of so far is 2 Fire Strike charges, I don't know if Reinhardt has the sustain it takes to be the solo tank here, as the teams are going to get right into the fight.
Yeah, he does have up to that 650 health now, so a little bit extra armor, I believe, to make him that much tankier. And with Sweatpants being the first one eliminated in this fight, now quickly followed by Blank, with Joe taking him down. Already Cyclones +2 in this fight will be able to cap the point as respawns coming in. So Tsunamis have to, or Cyclones have to retreat. No, Tsunamis, because they swapped Sweatpants.
And now the Tsunamis are swapping 2 of their team members. We do have Sweatpants mirroring the Reinhardt and Blank on that Cole Cassidy.
Yeah, so interesting change-ups here. Heals still maintaining, though, so Tsunami's sticking to their guns with the DPS of the Sombra, the Moira, and the Lucio going right into the fight. Sweatpants falling very low, able to come out of it alive as Blank takes down Joe right as they get the pulse bomb as well. Oh, so now down 2, down 3, and the Tsunamis came back with a vengeance. Should be able to secure the point here as Holy Chub tried to go back to contest, but did get eliminated.
All the Tsunamis needed were a couple swaps there, the most notable of which I want to say is the Cole Cassidy, but the Reinhardt also let them walk onto the enemy in a way they weren't able to before. The Tsunamis did a phenomenal job of recognizing that their comp wasn't working and immediately swapping.
Yeah, that fast action time is something that we've been wanting to see from a lot of these esports tower teams is, you know, the ability to change just like that and make the adjustment to the enemy team to compensate for it. A lot of teams really get stuck in their roster, so it's a nice change of pace as the tower comes out for BBQ, and it will lead to the first elimination of this fight onto Blank. So down a member forces out the coalescence from Mango, but that will be the point in Cyclone's favor as now the amplification matrix also coming out for C-Squared. Herd will not do them as much as they wanted though, as Joe gets eliminated by Sweatpants, quickly followed by the Holy Hub taking down Mango, and Sweatpants taking down C-Squared. Concentrates back and forth, but lost their main heals. Cyclone's trying to fight, will end up getting taken down, and that's the point for the Tsunamis.
Tsunamis did something that a lot of teams do, which is when you're down 1, you start using ultimates to try to like make good on that lost member. And sometimes, and a lot of the times, it doesn't actually end up working. But because they were able to walk in, even without the Moira heals, it did end up working for them. Though I would not recommend making that a habit.
Hopefully not a habit indeed. They do have this sound barrier to try to defend against the Cyclone's next push, so hopefully we'll see that come out here and not a Sweatpants elimination or a Blank first death. Instead, he will get the first elimination against Joe once again. Joe and Blank have been the first 2 to go out in these fights again and again.
It does feel like hero picks are even more important now, and Tracer is not the right one into a Cole Cassidy.
Yeah, she's not been able to get those picks that they needed so badly in order to swing the fight in their favor, but Sweatpants being so low is going to bring out the shatter and get the elimination onto BBQ just outside of that mortality field, and then a great charge to take down a Holy Chub. Blank taking down Joe. Sweatpants get now on a quad. Gets them all.
Sweatpants with about 100 HP laid them all out and then lived because Mango willed it.
Yeah, that extra 50 HP really making Reinhardt a huge threat in the front lane. Now double ults coming out, and a great denial by BBQ denying the Deadeye from Blank. Another tire's going to come out here, and then the immediate elimination against Lukey. But the whole time they've been losing that front lane battle as Dark was able to get the elimination. Now Sweatpants come charging back. BBQ just so low on HP, gets taken down. Joe's doing as much poke as he can, but this Tracer's not going to be the game changer that they need and gets eliminated with the Flame Strike. Now, it seems the Cyclones are all out stall. There goes the EMP, and that will be map 1 for the Tsunamis.
BBQ really tried, especially in that last fight, got the double elimination, and actually put his team up 1, but then the Reinhardt charge came in and eliminating BBQ, and that was about the end of that fight there just because BBQ was so weak without any support on point.
Yeah, Joe sticking to that Tracer the whole match was definitely an issue for the Cyclones that I think, as you mentioned, if they had swapped off of it, they would have been able to capitalize a lot more because BBQ was absolutely popping off on that Junkrat. They were doing very well, getting constant eliminations, whereas on the side of the Tsunamis, Blank was just hard countering Joe on this Tracer, and seems that they're still going to stick to their guns and maintain this Tracer.
Which is no BM to Joe on the Tracer. Most Tracers get rocked by a Cole Cassidy, but that's when you need to realize that you need to swap if you're still on the Tracer into the Cole Cassidy. And actually, it does look like Blank is going to swap off of that Cole Cassidy, so we'll see if Joe can get some more value.
Yeah, we did see the Sombra sprinting in, getting a ton of info, seeing that they still have the Tracer, but Cyclone's now kind of adjusting over to the Tracer. Now Holy Chub on the Wrecking Ball, but BBQ falling so low, somehow still alive, gets the health back, and then is quickly eliminated by Mango, who's now on the brig, quickly followed by Holy Chub taking down that Sombra. Seems still even and both down a DPS so far, but Holy Chub tries to even that out very quickly, taking down that Junkrat of Blank, who's just been such an issue for them. And that will be the point for the Cyclones.
And Sweatpants on that Zarya. Zarya's changed. She now has 2 charges of bubble instead of 1 self and 1 personal going into this. We're not sure if there are any ball changes. So ball should just be as he currently is in Overwatch 1 for both of these tank lineups here.
Yeah, and as the quick exchange between BBQ and Mango happens once again, Mango's really just going all in for poor old BBQ. And I mean, it's a trade that's been working out in their favor. Losing a healer for a DPS that can spawn much quicker than a break can is a trade that I think the Cyclones want to keep taking. And as they look for a re-engage here, Tsunami's just building up a ton of charge, taking the lead.
BBQ is going to take on Dark, which is going to set them up very, very well here. Tsunamis are forced to drop onto the low ground. Sweatpants has that grab. We'll see if they'll have to commit it just as the rally comes out.
Yeah, good engage. Comes the grab as well, and a huge triple for the Tsunamis trying to finish off. Holy Chubb still managed to survive with BBQ, who had just come back from that respawn. Now Joe finally swaps off the Tracer to the Pharah.
And there is not a whole lot the Tsunamis can do other than hack the Pharah out of the sky, so you got to think Pharah is going to be a pick that is going to get a ton of value here going into this.
Also with the Pocket Mercy.
Especially with the Pocket Mercy. That is a dangerous Pharah that the Tsunamis currently don't have a way to deal with.
Yeah, and Shy's just been on the ground boosting the rest of his team along. This is a good wombo combo of Dedicate 2 to the skies, 3 to the ground as Blank gets a huge pressure up top, and Joe's going to capitalize on it with a double against Mango and Blank.
You got to think that the Tsunamis didn't tab that out, weren't prepared for the Pharah switch, and didn't know how to deal with it once they knew it was there.
Yeah, did immediately get the hack on the Mercy, though, not the Pharah like you mentioned. So now that forces out Blank to bring out the tire.
The Tsunamis are still in a good place, even though they lost that fight. Sweatpants is going to swap over to the D.Va to maybe hopefully do something about that for Mercy. Mango is going to swap over to the Mercy themselves to see what's going on here. The Cyclones are at 31 and climbing. The Tsunamis will have to win 2 fights to win this map.
Yeah, now with Sweatpants on the D.Va as well, definitely went the hard anti-air for the Tsunamis comp right now. Mango's definitely the interesting pick, but Blank back on the Cold Cassidy, as you mentioned, and takes down BBQ.
Oof.
These 2 DPS players have just always been the first to be eliminated since Joe has made the swap. So that's definitely something they want to keep an eye out for the next team fight, but trying to build a barrage as the Mercy goes down. You hate to see it. Now the sound barrier forced out as the tire comes out as well. Hell, Cyclone's committing everything. It's just a battle of cat and mouse for Joe. Drops down to 3 HP.
Finally got him.
And will get finally taken down, as you mentioned, by Blank. Blank on this Cold Cassidy's a threat.
Absolutely, especially with Mango as the Mercy pocket there. That is a pocketed Pharah versus a pocketed Cole Cassidy, and Blank has been showing exactly why Cole Cassidy's a perfect Pharah counter.
Yeah, and with Sweatpants on the tank roll is something we have not seen in a long time, so it's a nice return, something they want to try out, and it's working out for them in strides here as Blank eliminates BBQ again. Holy Chubb going to throw down the mines on the point. Joe bringing out the barrage, quickly countered by the Deadeye from Blank. Now bringing out both Valkyries for both teams. A 3-man EMP is going to come out for the Tsunamis and get the elimination onto C-Squared. Her Blank's going to get a great flashbang against Shy, but it's still a brawl on the point. And surprisingly, Cyclones being down 2 members secures it. Now bringing out the self-destruct from Sweatpants, able to pick up BBQ again. He has to have the most deaths at this point, as Tsunamis want to try to return this point to their clutches.
The Holy Chubb is going to go down at this point. The Cyclones are just throwing bodies on the point, and you have to think that's not looking too good for them as Joe and C-Squared are also going to be eliminated. But what else can you do 99 to 90 other than throw your bodies on the point? Though it looks like the Tsunamis are just going to clean that up. Mango gets the melee kill onto Shy Pengi.
We love a battle Mercy, but continuing. Now BBQ on the Tracer, just touching as best they can, still manages to survive, forces out the Deadeye for zoning, does not get the elimination, but that little extra damage. BBQ is just still trying to touch. If they can regroup as 5, Cyclones could swing it. They just need that 1 elimination to give that a +1 in the fight. At this point, Blank just standing in the corner trying to get some shots on, able to flash bang Shy, but this Lucio's untouchable on the point. Look at which
Ball's going to join. That is 3 members on the point at once. Drop that to 2 members as the Holy Chubb is going to be taken back. And then Tracer and C-Squared. C-Squared's down. That is both DPS on the point still, though, which is almost more members than they've been able to have so far.
Ooh, that might be it. And there it goes. They maintained overtime for far too long.
Valiant effort, and some target focus was lacking if you're able to maintain OT for that long.
Yeah, well, Cyclone's proving you can only go out alone and get you so far. Ultimately, if you want to increase your chances of success, you have to level up your teaming skills. We just saw that in the last play with just an all-out panic on Nepal to just throw your bodies on the point and try to get that overtime. But you can see how talented these players are. Esports Tower really takes their time to create teams of well-matched teammates. Of course, I'd like to do a shout-out to the coaches, and for those of you watching who haven't checked out Esports Tower Clubs, you should. It's a fast track to rank up. Well, map one pretty decisively for the Tsunamis. I mean, they had a rough start on map one, but brought it back. Cyclone's really giving them a run for their money, but ultimately will fall out. So heading into map two, which has already even been decided, of Eichenwald, what are you hoping to see in this 5v5 of Eichenwald of all things?
So usually control first fight is usually determinant of how the rest of it is going to go. That was actually the opposite of the case here, because first fight the Tsunamis got rolled, and then they immediately made the swaps and immediately adjusted their strategy and then proceeded to win the map. And they definitely didn't roll. They definitely struggled for their efforts to take this map one. So I expect the Tsunamis to continue to respond. I would like to see the Cyclones do a little bit more of that. Like if something is not working, you need to swap. You cannot force it.
Yeah, so Tsunami's definitely having the adaptability that we haven't seen from the Cyclones yet. And Cyclones being the returning team, we would hopefully see them continue that going forward. And Tsunami's being a new team really come out the gate swinging, showing a very strong force.
And I will say that there's a lot more brawl than we expected on Control Point, because we were expecting kind of, or at least I was expecting Overwatch 2 Reinhardt to not necessarily be a tank that was as well utilized as he was first point on Control, just because the fights are going to be so scrappy and Reinhardt usually needs people behind him to go in. But both teams actually still played together with their Reinhardt, even as like two separate fights were taking place. It kind of felt like sometimes there's the Reinhardt in the front line with the Moira was the way we saw it divided, and then the DPS and the Lucio were off doing their own thing. But both sides were able to get value.
Yeah, it seems adding in 2 flame strikes for Reinhardt has just increased his damage by that much, because now he can deal 200 damage rather than the classic 100 per strike. So he's just really coming to par here, and the extra 50 health making him that much more tankier has just put him above the bar, I guess.
Fulcrum is running that Reinhardt on that choke here, which ultimately should be a solid pick here, getting both of his fire strikes out to get some ult charge. That only ends up with 5, though.
Yeah, they must have nursed that value, but Joe on the Torb is going to get first elimination against Blank with the turret. Not even his own elimination, but turret will get quickly taken down. But now, Dark going back and gets C-squared. That's main heals gone for the Cyclones, and Tsunami's just going to take that advantage and keep pushing. And now Mango taking down BBQ, continuing this push forward, takes down the turret, and looking for the next one as the Whitson just goes flying in of Sweatpants. He's looking to take down Joe on this Torb, who's been a nuisance so far. Even the hack going out against Joe, as finally Fulcrum's able to take down Sweatpants, but Joe will finally get taken down by Mango. So now it is a 4v3 on this point. Fourth member just now coming back for the Cyclones, now 4v4. You'd hope Cyclones win this having the tank and getting the elimination on Taluki. That should be a reset for the Tsunamis.
C-Squared got back just in time to stop the rest of their team from dying, and honestly, Cyclones did a phenomenal job rotating there. Immediately after C-Squared died, they all went back to point, and they were able to sustain just long enough for their Baptiste to get back.
Yeah, so now looking for the next fight. Hopefully Cyclones don't get C-Squared picked off this early. That's going to be their #1 priority, is don't lose him first. Because also he's so close to that purification matrix, and he gets it right as Joe gets the elimination onto Sweatpants. So they do have the edges in this fight. They will have to worry about the coalescence from Mango as Sweatpants swaps over to the Reinhardt. Seems like they're just going to go for the reset.
Sweatpants read my mind. I was just about to say, man, it's going to be really hard for a monkey to keep jumping into that Junkrat, Torb, Reinhardt, Baptiste. But then he immediately swapped to the counter Reinhardt.
Yeah, Hanzo, and also interesting choice with how brawling is, but Fulcrum with a huge triple, and that's a team wipe like that.
Not even like team follows up on the elimination or you swing. No, that was just 3 people that had the hammer brought down on top of them, and that's a feels great for Fulcrum.
Yeah, having that 250 damage within the 1.75 meters from the Rhine is just, with how brawly this style of gameplay has been, it's going to favor that Shatter, and they're going to have to be calling that out faster than ever now, with BBQ kicking this team fight off, and Dark with an EMP, but quickly countered by a two-man tire. Main heals down, DPS down, BBQ now on a triple, taking down Sweatpants. Fulcrum getting the fourth on Deluki, so close to that team wipe, unable to get Mango though.
BBQ is the price, but for a one fight, ultimately a small price to pay. BBQ will have to be back within the next, before the Tsunami's next engage here, and I don't think he will, so the Cyclones are just effectively down one.
Yeah, hopefully Junkrat, one of the fasters, might be able to get back in time, but Luki gonna engage with the sound barrier, gets at least 4 of his members, but Joe still gets first elimination against Sweatpants. Maybe he's overly aggressive. We weren't able to see that, as Blank and Dark able to even things back out, taking down C-Squared and Shy, quickly followed by BBQ, even things out, taking down Dark. But with Luki and Blank getting the final 2 remaining members, Tsunamis should be able to secure the point. They just need to take down BBQ, and they get it.
BBQ got back a little bit late there, going to get the counter pick onto Blank, but that will be ultimately of no consequence here, as the card is going to rock, and Blank should get that instant spawn there, and there they are.
Yeah, with how many changes they've brought in so far, I'm surprised we haven't seen a bit more bigger plays yet so far. It's just been nonstop brawls and brawls. Now Sweatpants bringing out the Shatter, lands onto 2 members, gets the elimination onto Shy, who was one of the 2. So Cyclone's gonna have to play a healer down, but Lucy of all people is the one you want to go down, seeing as he can come back faster than anyone else. Joe's gonna get the elimination, make that 2 onto Sweatpants, and Blank trying to reclaim this card.
Joe's been an absolute terror on that Torbjorn, especially to Sweatpants, but even the turret has been getting value on everybody else. And I mean, there he is again, getting that elimination onto Mango.
I guess not having that second tank to block both the turret and the DPS is just really hurting, and just showing the power of Torbjorn, which is something I thought I would never say, as we hear the molten core of Joe come out from that high ground that we all know is the strongest thing in the game. Does not get an elimination with how spread out it is and no members on cart. A huge trade with Joe trading out, taken down by Blank, but able to take down Luki. So Tsunami's down a healer, but Blank trying to even things out, taking down C-Squared. Now both teams down a healer, but Cyclone's at the disadvantage with the longer respawn walk timer, and already Luki is back with Blank. Now, or no, BBQ bringing out his own tower.
Sweatpants is going to play Ring Around the Rosie with the Riptire and end up coming out alive, which is pretty good.
Surprisingly, but BBQ gets the elimination against Mango, stopping the car as quickly as he can. Blank trades him out with the trap. He dies to trap. He must have been very low.
I think the Tsunamis at this point might want to consider swapping that Sombra, even as they have EMP. Maybe use the EMP and then immediately get off that, because they just cannot compete with the Cyclone's damage right now.
Yeah, especially now that Cyclones finally have a spawn advantage, getting right close to that first checkpoint. A huge 3-man EMP gonna land on two of those members who get quickly eliminated by Sweatpants and Blake, but Fulcrum coming back with a vengeance, taking down Sweatpants. Now Joe's now on the Cold Cassidy, takes down Blank, with Fulcrum getting a double, now a triple. Both heals down, almost a team kill.
Imagine committing 2 ultimates just to have them walk into you and lose. The Tsunamis don't have the damage to stop Fulcrum, BBQ, and now Joe on the Cole Cassidy from doing that, really. And especially with that Lucio speed boost, the Tsunamis, a solo Junkrat, ain't cutting it.
Yeah, so now going into this next fight, Tsunamis are going to have to play around this Shatter, and they only get Shy, but get the elimination since he did have the sound barrier. That's a huge play for the Tsunamis, also taking down Joe on the Cold Cassidy. And now Fulcrum, they're +3 in this fight and should be able to secure it.
The sound barrier let them walk in, but they're not going to have ultimates to continue to use, especially as we reach OT. This second point here in OT, and now with 1 minute and 26 seconds going into the bank, I still think a swap would be a good idea for the Tsunamis.
Tsunami's just going to continue pushing forward, it looks like. Going to try to play around Blank with this tire. A huge brawl on that right side. Blank comes out of it with the first elimination against C-Squared. So again, C-Squared first eliminated in the fight. Now quickly followed by Joe getting taken down by Blank. Blank's on a double. Now Dark taking down Fulcrum. BBQ able to at least take down Sweatpants, but you're down 4 members.
And that puts Cyclones in final fight territory. They lose this next fight, the Tsunamis are just gonna get the point. But the Cyclones have 6 ultimates, so you gotta think it's probably in their favor here. But Dark almost has EMP.
And Joe gonna open things up with the die, unable to get anything, but Cyclones had all 5 ults like you mentioned, so they should start using them. Shatter was blocked by Sweatpants, so Sweatpants answers it with his own Shatter, gets it, and BBQ surprisingly comes out of it with the elimination, and Joe with fantastic aim takes down the Blank Tire, quickly followed by elimination onto Mango. Cyclones having spawn advantage, able to swing this fight in their favor with Blank taking down Fulcrum and BBQ taking down Sweatpants. Now Joe finishing off Blank, that's a reset.
Took them 5 ultimates to make that up and a sound barrier that saved the Reinhardt. But now the Tsunamis just have EMP to try to take this last fight, and honestly, they just have a desperate touch.
Yeah,
they do get full team.
Cyclones are gonna need to play around this tire and not get eliminated with the EMP going off in the back lane only onto C-Squared, who survives finally. And now Joe gets the elimination onto Dark as well as Sweatpants, already +2 in this fight. Blank does get the elimination on the tire against BBQ, but Joe's now on a triple, taking down Luki, make that a quad. Will it be a penta? It's stolen by BBQ.
And that is an overall very nice little goalpost there. This is still winnable for the Tsunamis, even though they didn't push it all the way. That final quarter Eichenwald is where a lot of teams get stopped. So this is still very winnable for them, but they're in a very uncomfortable position of they have to have a great first and second point hold, because third point is just going to be uncomfortable because they didn't full cap.
I mean, with how brawly it seems the Overwatch 2 meta might be, indoors is just going to be a non-stop Blood Bowl. But Joe coming out of it with a quad and then BBQ stealing it at the tail end is definitely heart-wrenching if you're Joe after just struggling on Tracer, then coming back with a vengeance on every other DPS. And now Cole Cassidy seems to just be his bread and butter. This time now on the Sombra, what are you hoping to see from the Cyclones' attack to beat out the Tsunamis?
I hope to see a little bit more EMP follow-up, because I think that was something that was lacking with the Tsunamis Sombra in particular. Like, they would get the EMP and it would land onto between 1 and 3 members, but then those 3 members wouldn't get eliminated or wouldn't get followed up on. Or if you're going to use the EMP, just use the EMP to like stop ultimates, but even that requires immediate follow-up, because then they're just going to ult after the EMP.
So hopefully a little bit more a team play around the Sombra, because it seems like to run the Sombra, you need to play around the Sombra for her EMP. Her solo hacks mean she has great single target damage, but when you try to apply it to a 5v5 team-based game, it's very much an uphill battle without having your team just following you everywhere you go. And already Dark in the back lane going right onto C-Squared, but he's able to survive it. And now Joe falling very low. Sombra being very squishy. I'm curious if they changed her health at all, but I don't think so. I think she's still at 200, as no elimination from that whole engagement. Of course, Caster's Curse.
Of course, there it is.
Blake takes that BBQ.
Luki did get hacked on that Mercy, but they are able to sustain through that. The Tsunamis really want to do a lot of damage here, and the Sombra feels a little bit like the odd man out unless they're able to get hack value, because every other member of the Tsunamis is geared on dealing a lot of damage, and they have low healing. So they'll have to play around that low healing that they have. The Cyclones, however, look mostly just like a brawl comp, so the Tsunamis need to get picks before the Cyclones are walking on them.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've also seen Sigma in this matchup, just to see how he plays in 5v5, and Dark gets the first elimination against Shy. Definitely having the right target prioritization. Get the squishy backline, and the front line will collapse as Mango takes down Fulcrum. Losing that secondary heals has been detrimental, and that might be a Cyclone's reset, as Sweatpants take down C-Square, and BBQ has to go for the reset.
BBQ dies with honor off the map after the fight is lost. No dishonor in that. The Tsunamis are doing a great job at getting picks on the Cyclones before they're even able to rotate. Tank Doomfist? That is not a very big character model for what we were imagining from the tank. Looks like he's going to peek and then maybe go back into spawn there. So we might have been lied to. Dark has at least seen those swaps, and now over onto the Monkey. Dark is trying to do something cheeky here.
Yeah, he's just been getting all of the scouting value, and it seems that Cyclones just haven't been respecting him. I mean, he's always been getting damage on that backline, getting the healer elimination as the first in the fight. And now with C-Squared on the Ana, they're in danger with Blank opening things up with the double dragon. 2 more ults come online for the Tsunamis as Dark engages on C-Squared, but Fulcrum ends up getting the Discord Orb in the front line. Might have to jump back to save his heals, forcing out the Transcendence from Mango. Tsunami's just building up ults where Cyclones have yet to get one. No eliminations yet, surprisingly, and of course, Caster's Curse. As soon as I open my mouth, Blank gets the elimination against Fulcrum.
And it looks like that's all it's going to take to send the Cyclones back there, especially as Shaipengi goes down on that Lucio. The Tsunamis have been doing a phenomenal job at capitalizing on these fights here, but with ultimates coming up, it'll come up to who gets the better EMP, Joe or Dark?
I mean, just compare the time values of where we were for the Tsunami's attack and the Cyclones' defense. I mean, this is miles in difference. We never even got to overtime for the first point.
What was going on in the back there for a second, just barely off screen? Joe and Dark, the people to watch this next fight.
Yeah, they have the ults. I mean, Cyclones do have the +1 ult advantage. They just need to start landing them. And taking down Luki could be the advantage. I did see the Mercy bring out the pistol for 2 seconds. A great 4-man EMP. We haven't seen the follow-up yet. Forces out the Gravitic Flux.
No!
Gets the elimination against Fulcrum. Quickly followed by BBQ, taking down Dark. So they are even, but Cyclones don't have a front line, whereas Tsunamis do. Tsunamis should be able to hold here.
So in Overwatch 1, losing your main tank used to be a really, really big deal, but ultimately still winnable if you could get the elimination onto their main tank. It feels like the second your solo tank goes down, you just don't really have a fight. Like, everybody scatters, and it turns into scrappy elims instead of a fight.
Yeah, Cyclones just having to throw everything they got with the nanoed Fulcrum diving right in. And still not using. There goes the Primal Rage to keep himself alive. Gets the elimination against the Zenyatta. Double Dragons comes out to try to force him off point. Now in overtime, Cyclones have to go full dive here. BBQ swapping over to the Tracer. Gets eliminated by Dark after taking down Luki, I believe. Now Fulcrum with the Primal Rage takes down Blank. Joe takes down Dark. And that should be the point for them with only 1 member of the Tsunamis remaining.
There are now 3 on the point for the Cyclones there as they're trying to stop the Tsunamis from getting everybody in the contest. Tranquility's going to come out, and that's big.
Yeah, that might have swung the fight in their favor, keeping the Sigma alive. But Luki flies right in, and they barely C9 off the point. Tsunamis in shambles after that as Cyclones gets another 230 on the board. This game's still going.
That feels real bad because the Sigma Gravitic Flux would have been huge in winning that fight, but now the Tsunamis have to play point 2. And their comp is honestly pretty geared to take the high ground, but the Cyclones do also have a comp to try to dive into them. It will all just gear around whether or not they're able to support Fulcrum in their dives.
Yeah, now Blank securing that high ground team comp with swapping over to the Ashe. Great Dynamite gonna land onto Fulcrum. Just trying to build that ult charge. Now Mango even swapping over to the Ana. Definitely going for that high ground play, as you mentioned.
And it does look like Shaipengi on that Lucio is trying to terrorize them there. Ends up leaving with their life, but Blank is same cannot be said for BBQ.
Yeah, gets the elimination onto BBQ with the coach gun. Fulcrum jumps up to the high ground, has no support whatsoever, falls very low, surprisingly lives, but C-Squared does get eliminated by Blank in the back line. Now Joe taking down Dark to even things out, but Luki's there with the res. Blank gets the elimination against Shy. Cyclones having a real tough time trying to find where to fight.
Fulcrum was the distraction as everybody else came in from the low ground, and it ultimately ended up working, though I think a more coordinated dive, as in everybody in the same place, will benefit the Cyclones more.
Yeah, Joe having a real issue trying to pick who he wants to play in this dive as Blank's just popping off here. BBQ does get the pulse bomb up onto Mango, but I don't think they can regroup in time to capitalize on the Tsunamis being down their main heals.
Blank says, no, Fulcrum, you can't walk into me. Coach gun. That's a huge Sigma ultimate, setting Blank up for a lot of shots even as the sound barrier comes out.
Maybe a bit of an overcommit by the Tsunamis. I mean, Gravitic Flux, Sound Barrier, Bob all came out. Actually, I believe that was Cyclone's Sound Barrier, but tried to answer it, and they still got wiped. What are you hoping to see from the Cyclones to try to bring it back here?
They need a coordinated dive, and they need an elimination onto, most likely, Luki on that Mercy, because they've gotten the elimination onto Mango before, but Luki just comes in and insta-reses that, and walking into EMP, this next fight is pretty scary for them.
Yeah, so Cyclone's going to need to play around this Nano, and exactly that's what they do. The Winston jumps right on top of him, but does Wombo combo it with it, gets Lukey, as well as Joe takes down Mango. That's no supports for the Tsunamis. They're able to answer by taking down C squared at least, but Cyclones still have Shy to keep them alive as BBQ also takes down Dark. That's all members on the card. They have a chance.
The Tsunamis do have a full recontest, though, with EMP. So this next fight will be down to whether or not the Tsunamis can follow up on the EMP.
Yeah, so it's all eyes on Dark for that EMP, as you mentioned, but now C-Squared swapping over to the Moira. Only lands onto 2 members of the Lucio and Fulcrum. Fulcrum's going to end up eating a sleep to the face as well, but now Joe has the Deadeye built up and takes down Dark after that EMP. Fulcrum gets the leap onto Blank. Joe gets a double now onto Mango. Fulcrum gets a double. Joe's on a triple, and that's the checkpoint.
I maybe think that a Moira would have been more beneficial, especially that fight, and now they're going to immediately swap to Moira for this 3rd point. But we were talking about how the Tsunamis were going to need a phenomenal 1st and 2nd point hold. Taking them almost to OT 1st and then OT 2nd sets them up in a pretty good spot for this 3rd point, and now they just have to win the brawl.
It's going to be all eyes on this brawl. Can they get to that 3rd point? Especially, that's a huge start onto... That's no DPS for Tsunamis like that. They just had the engage and they weren't ready for it. Now it's also Winston v. Winston. Swaps trying to come in. The Deadeye does come out from Joe for the zoning.
Yikes.
They're about to get the cart. Deadeye even took down Mango. Fulcrum takes down Lukey. That's no supports. They just have to clear the cart and get rid of Dark, who's causing them an issue. BBQ gets the elimination against Sweatpants. No member of Cyclones has gone down yet. Fulcrum takes down Dark. Tsunami's an all-out stall here as BBQ gets the elimination against Blank. 2 members on the cart, both supports down the remaining 2, and the Cyclones get it.
And that's why you don't usually want to take it to a 3rd point if you weren't able to full cap, because you just lose one fight and you lose the whole point if you don't have the opportunity to reset.
Well, of course, this broadcast is brought to us by the Esports Tower, supplying us with the games, players, and so much more, where you can score pro advice at esportstower.com. You can improve your game sense, improve your team play, and improve your performance under pressure. You'll get matched with great coaches and players to help you rank up. Well, we're heading into Game 3 with Cyclones and Tsunamis 1-1. It's really neck and neck here. What are you hoping to see from a map 3?
So we've already talked about hero flexibility, but I think one of the other really, really big things is understanding your comp, like what you're going for. Like the Cyclones ultimately were able to pull it out, as we saw there, but they pulled it out final fight because they didn't get all members in their dive. They oftentimes just sent the monkey in alone, and even though they won that final fight, they just sent the monkey in alone, and he ended up eliminating 3, and that worked out well for them, but that's not going to work out all the time for you. And I mean, as we just saw, they sent that monkey in solo like 5 times, and only 1 time did it finally work out for them. So if you're going to play a monkey, even though he is a solo tank, you still can't just send him in by himself. You need the rest of your team immediately there to support him.
So map 3 of Escort, what are you hoping to see?
I really do like the Rhine v. Rhine in the Brawl. I like the Brawl comps that are coming out and the usefulness of the Junkrat that comes out. It does look like we do have BBQ on that Junkrat there, but the Holy Chubb on that Sigma. And the Tsunamis just proved that you can play a Sigma comp really, really well on that first point there. So it looks like the Cyclones have a ton of damage, and I don't entirely know if the Tsunamis are ready for it.
Yeah, so now heading into Dorado with the Cyclones on defense first. Joe immediately taking control of that high ground. Sweatpants falling so low. Going to try to go for the re-engage at not even half HP. Was definitely a ballsy move on his end as the lone tank, but getting a ton of progress on this card, really not having a ton of pressure applied to them from that high ground. Now even Mango getting the high ground just to try to take down Joe, who just has yet to leave. Look how far the card's gotten with no contest whatsoever. It's past the archway.
Reaper feels like a strange hero to try to hold the high ground on here, and I mean, we see exactly why. They can't really do anything until you get in melee range. And I think that this was the Cyclones' plan, stop them when they get to archway.
Well, very much past archway. We're here to Fountain, but finally Cyclones able to bring in the elimination. Holy Chubb able to kick things off, and Joe finishing things off. Now Tsunami's having to go for the reset, but so much early progress that the Cyclones just let happen.
They did give them a lot of space, but I think that was the point of their comp. I think the point of because as soon as they got to that archway, everybody on the Cyclones immediately rotated and the fight was taken, and the fight was won pretty quickly.
The Yeet Rock trying to find something, wasn't able to hit the shot, but Tsunamis with Blank and Mango on the pharmacy combo. Mango's so low! Lucky to survive, but starting to rain down the rockets, really have no anti-air. Cyclones are in trouble as they lose BBQ, but Tsunami's holding on to the ground game as Sweatpants brings out the Primal Rage to take down Holy Chop and C-Squared as Blank takes down Shy. That's a two-piece for both of them. Luki is able to get one as well. That should be checkpoint 1.
Tsunami saw their opportunity and they took it. They're like, huh, Cyclones or Junkrat Reaper. You know who they can't do absolutely anything against? A pocketed Pharah, and then Blank just went feral with Mango's assistance. I will say BBQ made a valiant effort getting that Mercy down to 30 HP in the sky as a Junkrat.
Yeah, C-Squared's going to bring out the rally just to try to keep his teammates alive, but you could see Dark all the way in the back, going to hack Shy, tries to get the elimination, probably forces out the Immortality field, but he's all the way separated from his team. Finally, he's going to have to rotate back around. Cyclone's very split up here as once again Tsunami's just getting a ton of free distance on this card.
I think the Cyclones are kind of on their back foot here. They haven't completely figured out how to counter the Pharah.
Ooh.
And right as I say that, the Pharah barrage is in. You know, you're a sitting duck for Joe at that point.
Yeah, definitely very much farther away than she should have been for that barrage to get the damage value out. Fulcrum once again, or Sweatpants this time. I'm jumping right up with the Holy Chum going to answer with the Gravitic Flex. Now Mango brings that out the Valkyrie to keep him alive. Sweatpants even going to activate. EMP from Dark's going to come out. Sweatpants continuing with the Primal Rage to try to get those eliminations. Mango comes back with the res. Tsunami's still in this fight, able to take down Joe. This might be checkpoint number 2.
The Cyclones had one bright spot when they eliminated Blank, but then it looks like they don't actually have an answer for the Pharma or anything the Tsunamis are doing, really.
Dude, the Mercy meta's coming back with one tank. She's just a god here. Joe's trying to be the anti-air and is quickly booped up almost all the way off the edge. C-Squared having to come back with the rally once again. Shy did use the Amplification Matrix to zone them off, but Mango is there with the res onto Sweatpants as she gets eliminated. And Joe with the data to finish off Blank. That's a reset for the Tsunamis.
There's the end of that fight there, and took the Cyclones a while, but I think they definitely have a strategy here. That Cole Cassidy is still going to struggle, and Blank's going to swap to the counter Cole Cassidy, so they're not going to struggle against the Pharah. The Cyclones have the high ground advantage, though. The Tsunamis are going to have to come up with something clever, and it looks like they're doing some swaps there. Mango over on the Ana instead of on the Mercy, likely to support the Winston and play for Nano, and hopefully send that nanoed Winston onto the high ground. But the Cyclones aren't actually taking the high ground, which I think is not a wise decision for them.
I mean, one strategy that I've seen from the Tsunamis is send Dark in, immediately try to get a support, and then play off that. But with BBQ getting the first elimination against Blank, that might already mean they have to play much further back and wait for his return. A great rock from the Holy Chop is going to nail right Luki in the face, and that's the elimination. Main heals down. That's a reset.
The Cyclones were able to clutch that through a sniped rock and BBQ getting a nice little pick before the fight begins, but they're playing low ground onto high ground, and it looks like they did rotate high ground, which is good and is exactly what they should be doing.
Dark in the back line.
They don't know. I don't think they know he's there yet. That's scary.
I mean, he's crouch walking, just looking for that opportunity.
Oh, they found
now
him.
They went low ground, jumps right into the fight. Sweatpants does it, or is able to charge the Primal Rage and uses it immediately to get the elimination onto C-Squared. This fight's still continuing, trying to get that card, lost a lot of progress. Now both supports down. Luki gets the elimination against BBQ as well, as we can't see it off the side, but now Sweatpants also taking down Joe. That's a near team wipe for the Tsunamis. That's the checkpoint.
It really feels like with these Sombra changes, if you don't scout her out and she's able to get right on top of you like that, there's not a whole lot you can do once your Baptiste is immediately hacked and you aren't able to eliminate the Sombra.
Yeah, engagement happening off camera as Mango gets the elimination against Shy with that nade, no less. Not even shooting, just hit him in the face with it. But now the Nano's coming out onto Sweatpants again. I haven't seen a Nano on anybody but the tanks yet.
And Monkey's a prime nano target, so I definitely would say that is understandable. We've seen Monkeys get huge value with the nano. Maybe not diving that Cole Cassidy by yourself there, Sweatpants, as they are going to back off and end up living.
Yeah, looking for one more. That nice double anti to both DPS was good, but unable to capitalize. A great Deadeye puts Lukey so low. He will get eliminated by the Gravitic Flux, but Holy Chump's going to get a second with Sweatpants falling. Now BBQ brings out the tower to take down Mango. He did end up falling to Dark, but that's a near wipe for Tsunamis. That's a reset for them.
I think as a solo tank, it's much harder than with another tank that will go with you because you have to get people that are outside of your role to go with you, and you have to play much, much more coordinated if you're going to run that Monkey. That said, I think the Tsunamis are doing a phenomenal job at doing that.
Yeah, Joe even swapping back over to the Reaper in a portion of the map that definitely favors Reaper a bit more as he gets the first elimination of this fight against Blank. A good +1 here, but with 4 ultimates stacked up for Tsunamis, they might just play for the time, wait for them to regroup and push in with all 4.
And if they did win one fight here, they would be able to take the point into that, closer into that circle of the final point and force the Cyclones to throw bodies on point. So they just need to win the one.
Sweatpants going in all by his lonesome with the Primal Rage, trying to focus down BBQ, but just surviving since his whole team rotated to keep him alive, whereas the Holy Chump just held the front line by himself. Seems tanks are just able to pop off here as the EMP comes out, and Blank Wombo combos it with the Deadeye onto the Holy Chump. Now Dark gets the elimination against Joe, and Blank gets it against C-Squared. They're +3 in this fight. He now +4 with the elimination against BBQ. That might be the point, but Holy Chump gets there just in time with the Wrecking Ball as the anti-lands right in his face. But Joe is able to get the Death Blossom in time.
Huge bubble.
Able to get it onto Blank, just able to get out of the bubble from Sweatpants as Mango gets the elimination against C-Squared. BBQ's going to end up suiciding as Joe comes back with a vengeance and gets a 2-piece. Seems Tsunamis might be struggling a bit here. Only Mango remaining of the Ana, surviving much longer than I'd expect, but that will be it. 1.53 meters away from checkpoint 3.
Joe came in with that Reaper on the point, used the Death Blossom as the engage. Sweatpants had a pretty big bubble. That would have been a 3K if the bubble didn't come out, and it ended up just being a 1K. But that 1K was enough, especially because Joe immediately came out of that Death Blossom and proceeded to get 50% of the way to another one.
Yeah, so as we take a look back at the replay, so long ago it feels like, all the way at the first checkpoint, Sweatpants just popping off with this Winston, but he popped off because he went in and had his team with him, which is something I definitely think of note, because if we take a look at that very final fight, he dove 4 members by himself with Primal, all on BBQ, and didn't get the elimination.
Yeah, he just kind of ran in their team, and I think the purpose was more to disorganize than it was to eliminate, and he definitely accomplished that goal, but it is still really wild to watch and very risky as a Monkey to go in by yourself, even with Primal, against 4 members, because a good team will melt you before you can even disorganize anybody.
On the flip side of that, Holy Chump was by himself the whole time, holding the front line, and the 4 members of Tsunami couldn't get past him until Sweatpants swung back around. They got the EMP and the Deadeye. So it's just kind of a single tank can hold off 4 members. If this is Overwatch 2 meta, this is definitely going to be just focus tank win fight.
And it was certainly like that in Overwatch 1 as well. Most of the time if you lose your main tank, that's almost as bad as losing your main healer going into the first fight. But because there's only 1 member responsible for like managing space, there's a lot of pressure on these solo individual tanks. And we now get to see the solo Roadhog. And honestly, my first thought is,
oh no.
The Cyclones just have a lot of damage and they don't necessarily have a front line.
Yeah, I believe they even buffed Roadhog's health with how big it is now. I do not remember. They had to do something to him just so he can hold that front line, but having Security of the Skies has been working out for the Cyclones so far. I mean, this Pharmacy's just been able to deal a ton of damage for Tsunamis off the high ground, and already they're having to brawl right outside of that archway, but Dark on the Junkrat now, trying to contest them a little bit. Also, Sweatpants on this Orisa has been able to hold the front line.
There was some talk about Orisa not having a shield, so it's good to know that Orisa does still have that shield, especially in this solo tanking position. And Joe's going to get the first elimination.
Yeah, against Blank,
and
and make that 2. That's no DPS for Tsunamis. Surprisingly, BBQ didn't get that. Instead, he's going to get Luki of the main heals. And what? Not even a minute in, they get the first checkpoint.
I don't think the Tsunamis had an answer to the Pharah raining down tons of damage, and then Joe got that immediate elimination onto both of their DPS, so Sweatpants as the Orisa just got walked on because there's not a ton you can do as an Orisa down both of your DPS to defend yourself.
Which explains why Blank immediately went over to the Soldier 76, as well as Dark back over to the Sombra. Ooh. So hopefully that may change things up for the Cyclones, but look how much space they're just taking freely. And Holy Chump with a great hook gets the elimination onto main heels of Luki. Now Mango gets taken down as well by BBQ with the help of C2, always there. Hopefully we can see the res come out. Oh, will get taken down by Blank. Soldier 76 doing his job, taking down the air.
Poor Sweatpants is making do with Soldier Biotic Field there for healing, and it's not going to last him much longer, especially as that Pharah respawns.
Yeah, his shield thankfully will be up in time so he can throw that back down. Ooh, Cole Cassidy able to roll out of the Orisa pole. Pole was nice, clean fight. Sadly, the shield was just put. Here comes the whole hog. And the Deadeye, a great wombo combo. That's main heals and main tank down.
They almost got that whole hog. Just a couple more headshots and the Holy Chub would have been down for them, and will get them this second point here. But that's not going to work against everybody.
Yeah, Cyclone's running away with it right now. I mean, almost every checkpoint the Tsunamis got on their attack was bare minimum. Now Cyclones are here at checkpoint 3 with 5 minutes on the board.
And it feels like even as C2 gets eliminated, that is a good hold for the Tsunamis here. But they're in a very uncomfortable position of having to defend this final point for almost 5 minutes. And it's definitely doable, but not if you keep getting eliminated first.
Yeah, Joe able to at least trade out with Dark, gets eliminated by Blank. Now Mango gets the res onto Dark, so they're back at full strength. Now Blank bringing out the sights as C2 gets the res, but will end up getting taken down by Luki, and Shy, unable to make it out alive, gets taken down by Blank. Controlling the high ground has worked for them.
And it looks like this is finally their stand. They've won a couple of fights there, but a well-placed barrage or amplification matrix in that hallway could easily flip this to the side of the Cyclones. So at this point, the Tsunamis are playing the ultimate game.
Yeah, or even if BBQ gets behind without the barrage, presses her E and knocks them all off, then it's just a ground battle because they just got bumped off. I mean, even a Lucio, if the Cyclone swapped over to it, could work out fantastic to deny the high ground that the Tsunamis have been capitalizing on.
Sweatpants is not going to get hooked today. They saw the Holy Chub and backed up.
There's the barrage. Unable to get anything, but does force out the shield, and Sweatpants is first eliminated by Shy, surprisingly. A great flashbang to deny Dark in the backline. And as Holy Chub gets that elimination, Blank finally able to take down the fire, but is quickly rezzed. They notice two members in the backline of Blank and Mango, but that's cart pressure just getting free distance, and Cyclones quickly took back that high ground.
And at this point, it looks like Sweatpants is going to swap over to the Roadhog just to get a little bit more damage. Joe is not going to get a ton of value out of that high noon there, but they will get value out of the Flash Fan.
Yeah, hack to take him out of the Deadeye. Now Sights in the backline as well with the Valkyrie. It's a great wombo combo. Cyclone's already down 2 members of their secondary heals, main tank. Now even Luki with the Brig with the shield bash gets the elimination against Joe. Blank gets 2 more, and that's a reset.
And I think swapping off of the Orisa was a good plan. There wasn't a lot. The Orisa was being attacked from too many angles to get a ton of value there. And I think that will be one of her downfalls as a solo tank, is she's really only able to cover one angle. And in this 5v5, they're coming at you from everywhere. So the Roadhog is a good swap, I think.
Yeah, they should either lower the cooldown of her shield or maybe increase its health just so she can have more of a tank presence to deal with how many angles she can be attacked. But a lot of pressure coming out into Sweatpants, down to half HP. Will get healed up from his E. Dark also just crouch walking everywhere, trying to find that juicy target to hack and deal damage on. You know it's one of those supports, but BBQ and C2. BBQ falling very low from a well-placed shot from Sweatpants. also has the whole hog, looking to use it. A great barrage setup. So low. Hog survived though with the whole hog. As they lose Holy Chub and BBQ, C-Squared's were there with the res at least. Tsunamis was up a couple members, but Cyclones bring it back as they take down Blank here. Continuing the push, now even taking down Dart. Tsunamis do have spawn advantage, but it's war of attrition at this point of constantly eliminations of throwing their bodies on the cart as Joe with a great Deadeye takes down Mango. Now Luki coming in with the rally to try to keep his teammates on the cart. Holy Chub also doing their best to just try to 1v1 Sweatpants. But that rally will end up getting inspired. A great hook taking Baptiste off the high ground, but is quickly replaced up there thanks to his passive of that control. The Frog Leap even gets the elimination, gets Sweatpants.
Oh, no.
The res goes through as C-Squared gets eliminated, but Ming goes quickly eliminated by BBQ, who Cyclones down the Mercy is detrimental. Now they lose Holy Chub with Sweatpants bringing out the whole hog. Joe's able to answer one with against Luki, but Cyclones need to reset here.
That was a phenomenal Mercy Reg getting Sweatpants on the cart there still as the Hog, just because Hog can self-sustain and get a ton of damage into the cart there, just as we saw them get the eliminations that have led this team to stabilize. Cyclones, even though they came to this third point with 5 minutes, they're in final fight territory.
Yeah, they've just been stalled out again and again. A great hook forces out the Immortality field to keep C-Squared alive. So that's one cooldown that you need as an EMP comes out for Dark. Will not have the follow-up that they needed. Forces out the Valkyrie from Mango to keep his teammates alive. Now even damage boosting. C-Squared, the first eliminated by Sweatpants, just too aggressive, I would guess, in that front line. Even losing the high ground, Dark takes control. Tsunamis are looking very good here. Now even taking out BBQ. And with only 3 seconds remaining, Cyclones are going to have to try to win this team fight, being down 2 members. But now only being down 1-2 again as Joe quickly swaps out with Sweatpants and Mango even gets the res. Cyclones have 3 members on cart, brings out the whole hog to try to continue it. Unable to get the hook off in time to deny the double dragons, and that's all 3 remaining members taken down by the whole hog and the double dragons, with only BBQ remaining on this Tracer to stall as much as they can. Overtime ticking down. Tsunamis will come out on top.
Risky reses are the name of Mango's game, and it ended up working out for them. Phenomenal job on that Mercy there.
Yeah, so Tsunamis pulling out the first win in kind of this Overwatch 2 pre-beta, I would call it the alpha, but test trial of Overwatch 2 of how it might play out, because we're in Overwatch 1, but
test trial,
yeah, let's go with that. But congratulations to Tsunami for the first best of 3 win, and that's going to have them head into the next matchup, or actually kind of losers bracket. We want to showcase another new team, so it's going to be the Cyclones taking on the Wolves. So Tsunamis being the new team, pretty close matchup.
They did great.
Very close. Out of the 3 maps, I mean, we went all 3 maps is something we kind of rarely see, especially like with the Everest record of never losing. I mean, it's a nice change of pace. So we do have Cyclones taking on the Wolves, but final thoughts on that previous match?
I'm a little bit worried about Orisa going into Overwatch 2 because, at least from what we saw, and we have a very small sample size right now to say that anything's wrong with Orisa, but especially because Sweatpants was playing the high ground most of the time on that Orisa, and that would be where she is strongest. I think it was either their team wasn't there to follow them up enough, because it really felt like that Orisa couldn't take or hold space, and I don't know if something needs to be done to her or teams just need to get better at playing around a solo Orisa.
Yeah, so it's really just kind of have to wait and see how it plays out. Maybe Overwatch will end up revamping her like they have every other champion and see what changes with her. I have to wait and see. But we do have more Overwatch for you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's broadcast of Esports Tower Rumble in Overwatch. We are broadcasting it here from the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It is week 3 of our spring Overwatch Rumble, with the teams facing off in some custom Overwatch 2 scrim servers used by the pros over in Overwatch League, the Owl teams. And these games are now 5v5, and already the Rumble has had plenty of action. I'm your host, Brennan Bear Ladd. Joined with me to call all of the action is Colby D'Angelo Alloway. And we've been joined by 3 new teams for the Esports Tower. We have already seen the Tsunamis. We have yet to see the Wolves and the Cyclones, I believe. Or no, we just saw the Cyclones. Now we are going to see the Wolves take on the Cyclones. And since this is a best of 3 with what we've already seen of some of the showcases, we have yet to see Bastion, who's been one of the big changes. So what are you hoping to see from map 1 to maybe bring him out?
I think people are understandably scared to play Bastion for a couple of reasons. One, you only have one tank to peel for you, and so you're going to have to rely on your other DPS and your supports to completely play around you as well. I just also think this 5v5 taking down a tank is not necessarily the environment that Bastion thrives in, like these scrappy fights where everybody's kind of doing their own thing. For the most part, even though Bastion has the 10-second turret that is movable, even though he has more mobility than he does have in Overwatch 1, he is still a hero that very much needs to be protected, and part of the reason is because the minute everybody sees a Bastion, they're going to shoot at the Bastion.
Yeah, he's definitely target priority number 1 because the point-and-click win hero of the game since day 1. So, especially with his changes, I'm curious how he will work in-game with turret only 10 seconds and can move. I mean, it's definitely a big game-changing, and especially with the DPS who can heal himself, takes the pressure off of the supports to help the tank push forward. So I think he could work really well with like the Roadhog, who can just hold the front line, deal a ton of DPS, doesn't need to really shield as much. Could be working, but have to wait and see. I mean, this is, as we called before the break, kind of competitive testing, I guess.
Competitive testing.
Yeah,
accurate.
It's not an alpha, it's not the beta, because the beta comes out later this month. So it's just kind of, we're winging it. I mean, it's Overwatch 2. We'll wait and see what happens. But as we're getting ready to jump into our match, we want to take a moment and congratulate all of the Esports Tower Club members who have graduated from the clubs and been offered scholarships across the country. Over the last 3 months alone, Esports Tower Club members have received over $1.6 million in scholarship awards. These students have not only worked hard on their in-game play, but worked hard academically and have earned these scholarship opportunities. We could not be more excited and proud to see all of these opportunities these players are getting. Well, so we're getting ready to jump into our second matchup of the night. These players are going to need all the help they can get in Doc's keys to the game in Overwatch, and that's to never take a fair fight. And that means to take fights in unexpected places when they are unprepared. And of course, tempo, tempo, tempo. These are brought to us by Esports Tower, where you can score pro advice at esportstower.com, improve your game sense, improve your team play, and improve your performance under pressure. You'll get matched with great players and professional coaches to help you rank up. We are getting ready to jump into our first matchup for the Wolves, their debut, taking on the Cyclones with map 1 going to be Oasis. So the Cyclones just coming out from a tough series against the Tsunamis, ready to start off the Rumble. So can they bounce back and get another one of the new teams? As I mentioned, the Wolves have to wait and see. And already out the gate, a Widow.
It does look like this is a mix-up of maybe some Meridian Tech members, just as we see Daydream on that point and King Swiffer on the returning Reinhardt that has been here before. The Cyclones are definitely, they look like they're running for a modified dive, but with that Widowmaker, who is a viable dive hero, they will have to dive within sight of their Widowmaker, otherwise they'll just be down 1.
Yeah, taking that high ground advantage was not even the case, as Joe gets the first elimination on a Widow against Illusion on a Reaper. Some very interesting pick, but the Law also have yet and not being able to stun. This is the new May, barely misses that charge against the Baptiste. Oh, I knew that. As Joe gets an elimination against Law, and Daydream bringing out the damage, picks up one more. It's been even between these two teams, but Cyclones will prioritize the point first. A huge harass coming out from BBQ, now on the tank roll.
King Swiffer's, Illusion's being bullied. You got to think at this point, maybe they swap or respect the Widowmaker. Those are your options right now.
I mean, already Fulcrum swapped off the Genji over to the Reaper to deal with King Swiffer on this Reinhardt. I mean, that extra 50 armor has just made him that much tankier, and so Reaper's just been the anti-tank 10 times more now, as he takes down the Law surprisingly first, and now the Zenyatta taking down King Swiffer. Even gets the wall hacks on. A great deny by the Genji, with Illusion now swapping off that Reaper, as you mentioned, but he will get taken down.
We do see BBQ and Fulcrum have swapped roles. Fulcrum, who was previously the main tank, is now the DPS, and BBQ, who was previously a DPS, is now our solo tank on that ball there.
Yeah, so Daydream in the little brawl corner will get C squared, knocked off the edge, and a great shatter is going to lead to the elimination of BBQ, who had just thrown down his mine, so at least they did get that value. Ooh, a nice cooldown animation for the Flame Strike. It's just a bar now, no timer or anything, which I find really interesting. But ET Wolves need to take back this point, especially with the Law taking down Fulcrum, who's now in the Cole Cassidy off of the May.
King Swiffer is now on that point, and a Reinhardt is still a menace, even with no one to back him up here.
Yeah, those two Flame Strikes, being able to just both Flame Strikes take down most of the DPSs at 200 health is a huge statement in the front line. And there goes Fulcrum with the Amplification Matrix. So that's just deadly on all its own. With now the Law taking down Joe as well as C Squared. That's a double for this Cole Cassidy, continuing that momentum forward. They still have yet to even cap the point. Now Cyclones up to 99 in overtime. Wolves have yet to get one, and there it is.
99 to 1% and climbing. The Wolves now have to play the perfect defense game. Just because they lingered so long and never really took like a second actual fight after they lost the first one, they just kind of kept staggering in.
Yeah, so now Joe swapping off that Widow over to the Cole Cassidy to try to answer the aggression coming out from the Law and how well he's just been playing this hero. Oh, but a great flashbang will land, but no elimination came from it. BBQ on this wrecking ball tries to secure King Swiffer, who's solo even with the Discord Orb. He survives.
Barely.
Barely, for sure, but Joe will be able to finally finish him off. And Daydream's going to have to bring out the Sound Barrier just to keep him alive, but Illusion now bringing out the Genji Blade in the backline. No nano needed. That's no supports remaining for the Cyclones. That might be a reset for them, but Joe was able to answer it, getting the elimination against him before getting taken down, but percentage is still building for the Wolves.
And it looks like that Reinhardt is back on that point, and that is always scary. Reinhardt and Lucio, so he has just a little bit of support there. As long as he doesn't get directly in the Reaper's face, he should be fine.
Reinhardt new one-man army, question mark? He just needs a healer?
That definitely feels like what Reinhardt is in this new Overwatch 2 5v5.
I mean, yeah, I mean, not there. That's a bad example. He just gets actually just wall and mauled by multiple members of the Cyclones as they get 2 more, but the Law answers it with elimination onto the Zenyatta. They are down 1 member and quickly evened out by Illusion. Now another Deadeye coming out, dashes right into it with the deflect on cooldown. Joe gets the 2-piece. We're in overtime. I'm 82 to 99. This is all out hold for the Wolves, but proof that Reinhardt's probably not the one-man army as he falls very quickly.
100 to 82, and the Wolves, I think, lost that because they weren't playing as a team. They were all just trying to individually pop off, and they never really reset after that first lost fight. Usually, when you lose a fight, it doesn't cost you 99%, but that's exactly what happened to the Wolves because they just kept, like, staggering in immediately after that. They were able to hold, even staggered, much, much longer than we thought they were going to be able to because they went all the way up to 82.
Also, I want to touch on the fact that we saw Mei for probably that first minute and then immediately swapped off. So hopefully that's not a sign of she's a bad character rather than she just didn't really work in that comp. We haven't really seen much of Mei in this broadcast with these new changes. So maybe we'll see her return, maybe we won't. But jumping into map number 2, it seems the Wolves are kind of sticking to their guns on the team comp with only really the support lineup changing.
Both teams are going to engage. BBQ is getting stunned out of their mind here as they're finally going to get healed. C-Squared will be first blood, however.
Yeah, a good first blood for the Wolves, taking down that secondary support. I mean, Cyclone's really trying to look for a pseudo-brawl divey here, but it hasn't worked out for them as the Wolves have just been able to kind of run over them, even taking down Fulcrum now. Oh, nobody's capping the point. Guys, you got to remember, Overwatch, objective greater than kills here. They're still standing in their spawn, all 4 members, with only BBQ on this Wrecking Ball to contest. Finally, the point is capped. Now you can re-engage for the fight. And that's exactly what they do, getting the elimination onto Shot by buying them that much more time. BBQ's trying to disrupt that backline, drops down to that half HP. So he'll have to retreat. A great slam down, but not really dealing the damage he wanted as Illusion gets another elimination against C-Squared.
Genji really does feel like the odd man out on the Wolves just in terms of comp and play style, but Illusions has been getting a ton of value.
I mean, maybe because he's the odd man out is throwing the Cyclones for a loop of we didn't expect a Genji. Now there's just a Genji in our face getting the eliminations. And I'm surprised C-Squared of all people is constantly getting eliminated by the Genji. Has the shield bash stun, has the knock away, has just a straight up shield. Why are you getting eliminated first? You're the break. You're the one who should be able to live in a fight. Hey, so definitely some interesting plays as all of the ults come out, endangering with a double boom. A huge 4-man elimination in the span of 30 seconds, and there's a team kill.
Illusions now did a fantastic job. I honestly, as that ace came out, Illusions did most of the damage for that ace there, but I think Daydream just won them the fight with that immediate 2-person boop.
Yeah, so, I mean, great hold by Cyclones. Sadly, they did end up swapping off the Wrecking Ball over to BBQ. Now a huge swap here as Fulcrum on this Reaper coming back with a vengeance, taking down both DPS. Now C-Squared swapping over to the Lucio, able to take down King Swiffer. That might be the point for the Cyclones, and that should be.
You got to think that the Wolves didn't tab that one out, and they weren't necessarily ready for the Reinhardt on a swap there going into that. And King Swiffer got purple and then immediately eliminated after that, and that was kind of fight at that point.
Yeah, Cyclone's able to swing that very cleanly. Joe on the Colt Cassidy as well. Oh, they will have to worry about that shatter that King Swifter is going to try to use right in their face, along with the Law having that Deadeye to zone him out. Flame Strike taking down on the Baptiste to half health of not lost, but looks for the engagement. It's really just a game of cat and mouse. Who's going to engage first? It's constant Flame Strikes building up those charges, but they both have the shatters up.
So it will be up to who can get the better shatter. And honestly, sending BBQ in with that nano is not a terrible idea, especially as they're in this room.
Oh, shatter 1, shatter 2 only ends up landing on BBQ, who ends up surviving surprisingly. Fulcrum's going to bring out the Death Blossom, get no eliminations. Instead, Joe's going to come in with a 2-piece, and BBQ's going to take down one more. Fulcrum gets another. One member surviving will get away.
It did cost all of the Cyclones' ultimates, though, however, where the Wolves still have Deadeye. But the Cyclones are still at an ultimate advantage almost because of C-Squared and Joe being so close to their own ultimates.
Yeah, passing 57% to 91. Wolves win a team fight, then they'll have to win one more and they'll be able to take this game, but Cyclones really putting the pressure on, running out of time here. There's the Deadeye from Joe. Oh, and an answer from Daydream with the sound barrier. Joe's still holding on to it. Will end up getting it onto Not Lost. Main heals down for Wolves. That's main tank. Secondary heals. That should be a reset with the 2 remaining DPS for the Wolves. Still continuing to fight here. Illusion now keeping them on her toes as the Law ends up falling. Illusion able to take down Joe before he falls.
And now the Wolves are in last fight territory, but because of that last blade that they got, Illusions might be able to just pull this out and win just based off of the blade, but they will have to do something about C² first.
Yeah, it's really all about how who can either take down the heals first or the tank first, very much like the Overwatch 1 meta. But BBQ is going to get first elimination against Daydream, quickly followed by the Law with the Diet taking down Shy, as well as BBQ. So the Wolves are +1 in this fight here after they did end up losing their Lucio, who should be back already. And now it's just game of cat and mouse around the pole. Wolves will have to be able to win this fight and get that additional 9% as Law gets another 2-piece onto C² and Fulcrum, and that's the Wolves' point.
99 to 95 and climbing. The Cyclones have a desperate touch, and they will be unlikely to get all 6 members on at the same time.
Great flashbang stopping BBQ's charge. King Swifter does have the shatter. Will use it immediately to take down C². And with the flame strike taking down BBQ, the Law taking down Joe. Lucian now taking down Shy. That should be the point if they can take down Fulcrum in time, who's buying a ton of time for his team.
And at this point, it's just cleanup. The remaining members will not be able to touch the point. That is the Cyclones and the Wolves tied for maps here.
Yeah, even with Control being the first map, it's a best of 3 and a best of 3. So, it's really just how close these teams are matched. Cyclones were really close with Tsunamis. Now they're really close with Wolves. It seems Esports Towers really even things out, and we'll have to see who can really apply the pressure to the Everest. But in this matchup right now, it's back and forth, back and forth. Each team has had their moment in the spotlight. So now swapping over to this new map, what are you hoping to see in the team comp change-ups?
I think as long as King Swiffer is not being terrorized by a ball or possibly a Doomfist, I think they have it. Illusions now still feels a little odd on the Genji, and the Cyclones, I think, win the brawl because of that, but Illusions has been able to get big ult value, which focuses more on the individual play that you're not necessarily looking for in a team-based game.
Cyclone's also taking control of the high ground for this first fight and immediately jumping down, but Joe's maintaining it. BBQ falling very low, but Daydream or the Law first eliminated, quickly followed by Daydream. Both Fulcrum and Joe are able to pick up one. Now BBQ adds to that list, taking down Not Lost. Cyclone's taking first fight.
So even though the Wolves are not an optimized comp for this, and even though Illusions now is the last person to go down, they're doing a great job on Genji. Genji is not the pick for this comp, though, because the Wolves keep losing brawl after brawl after brawl because everybody else wants to brawl. And you're not going to win going with a Genji versus a Reaper.
Ooh, missed time the flashbang as well, trying to get him down. He's at the half HP. It's just a battle of the duel for the high ground. End up having to jump down back to the point as the shadow comes out into 3 members. King Swifter and Not Lost taken down immediately. Quickly followed by the Law, Daydream and Illusion. That's a team kill for the Cyclones.
Huge amplification matrix ended up helping them get that, as well as the shatter there, and now the Wolves have their own shatter. And I think with this Genji blade, it might be the time to swap as we are 80% and climbing here. And he wants to get it before Shy Fengi gets the sound barrier.
Hopefully not a repeat of the last map where a team gets 99, then swap, other one gets 99, but Law picks up Fulcrum and Joe evens things out, taking down main heals of Not Lost. So stalling them for that much more time might be the advantage they need. Also, you know he's looking to set up that Deadeye.
He wants it. He wants it as soon as they drop to point, most likely.
Oh, there's one. Illusion now going immediately on him. Oh, the Phantom Hammer misses one bullet. So the Law's going to bring out his own Deadeye, get C², also taking down BBQ with the help of King Swiffer's Shatter. quick fall by the Flame Strike, taking down Fulcrum. The Law takes down Shy to finish things off, and that's the Wolves' point.
That's a little bit more than you want to give up before being able to cap the point. 68 to 8% and climbing. The Wolves are in a very uncomfortable position. This Genji Blade will have to be used aggressively, and then hopefully they swap, because the Cyclones don't actually have anything to counter this current Genji Blade other than just outright eliminating or flashbanging.
So all eyes are going to be on McCree, essentially, or Cole Cassidy for Joe, but Sadmir is going to come out from Daydream as well as the Amplification Matrix. Now the Genji Blade comes out right into the back line, taking down C-Squared immediately, but Joe with a great Deadeye in the front line is going to take down Not Lost and the Law. Illusion and finishes off the Lucio, but Daydream gets the boop onto Joe right off the edge. Seems the Wolves are going to maintain this point.
Just barely by the skin of their teeth, but now the Cyclones have swapped over to a Mei, and they have that Reaper with the ultimate as well as the Shatter, and the Wolves have nothing to answer that with.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to come down to that individual and team skill rather than playing around the ults. As we see in Overwatch, a great Shatter is going to land only onto BBQ thanks to that Maywall from Joe, who swapped over. As C-Squared gets the first elimination onto King Swifter, quick fall by Illusion, trading out for C-Squared. Then Illusion taking down Not Lost, Law taking down Fulcrum, Joe taking down Law, and that's the Cyclones' point after a lot of trades.
The Wolves do have one final shot at this, and that Genji needs to go. Not because of a lack of individual Genji play, but because it is just not working in the comp, especially with Mei Reaper. Your Reinhardt needs more help than Genji's offering.
Still refusing to swap off as BBQ with a huge charge knocks two members off of the main heals and main tank. With Daydream able to boop off C-Squared to follow. Illusion now sticking to this Genji, able to take down Joe, trying to find one more onto Fulgrim.
Barely gets it.
Surprisingly very low with that right-click spam. The Deadeye is going to come out from the Law, not land onto anyone, but apply that pressure that they need as King Swifter gets the Flame Strike elimination onto BBQ. That's the Wolves' point.
And that they can't afford to lose a fight if they want to take this. And with the Blade, they are set up pretty well to do that. But again, he wants to Blade before Shy Pengi gets that beat. But luckily, Illusions has been able to charge the Blades before Shy Pengi charges the beat. But that might end up losing Lucio's team the game.
BBQ also very close to getting the Shatter, gets it immediately, uses it immediately. King Swifter uses the Shatter, the Blade, the Death Blossom come out, that's 4 ults. But Fulcrum gets the biggest value with a triple onto both supports, DPS down. Joe finishes off King Swifter. BBQ takes down Illusion now, even with the Blade, and that should be the Cyclones' point with the Maywall blocking them off.
Luckily, because of Fulcrum, they didn't even need the beat to counter the Blade there, and especially jumping onto that Baptiste that still had the immortality field. Illusions did not get the value they needed to win that point.
Well, of course, we want to take a moment to congratulate all of the Esports Tower Club members who have graduated from the clubs and gotten a lot of those scholarships. But this broadcast is, of course, brought to us by the Esports Tower, where you can improve your game sense, improve your team play, and improve your performance under pressure. Where you'll get matched with great players and professional coaches to help you rank up. Well, map number 1, going over to the Cyclones, is a welcome change. I don't think this is a repeat of last match yet, but we'll have to wait still to see what map 2 is. Walk us through what you're hoping to see from map 2 for the Wolves to bring this back.
So, again, I harped on it the whole time, and this will be the last time I mention it, I promise. So, that Genji was not getting the value, not because Illusions is a bad Genji player, because actually they were doing a lot of work on the Genji, but the Genji was not offering the rest of their team the support that you needed, and especially with solo tanks, you really need DPS that are going to help you out, especially if the enemy Reinhardt is walking into you with Reaper Mei or Reaper Cole Cassidy or these other really, really great brawl heroes. You kind of have to swap to mirror that based on what the enemy team is doing. And I think that that is something that cost not necessarily Illusions, because Illusion was straight vibing on the Genji, but I think it cost the rest of their team some fights there.
Yeah, so hopefully we can see them be willing to change off maybe what might be their main comfort pick. I mean, This is something that we've done and maybe a lot of people do even in quick play situations of, I don't really know what to play. I'm not great at a lot of stuff, so here's my comfort pick of where I can perform the best on. And as you mentioned, they were getting a lot of work in, but they had that individual skill, but not the team skill that they needed to come away with a win. So heading into map 2, which has been decided as Watchpoint Gibraltar, a bit more of a Genji-friendly map.
Especially with that dive. It's going to usually, so in Overwatch 1, it's really, really hard to run a Reinhardt on Watch Point Gibraltar unless the enemy team is also running a Reinhardt. But if they're running anything other than a Reinhardt, you almost have to swap off just because of all these other tanks with so much more mobility than Reinhardt has. And it looks like we are going to come out with Sigma Winston tentatively in the beginning. I am a little bit disappointed that we haven't seen any Doomfist on the main tank role, but I think that that is less because Doomfist is bad and more because people don't really know how to play Doomfist or play around Doomfist in this new Overwatch 2 meta.
I mean, yeah, the fact that he now has 500 HP, is in a tank role, and is just physically bigger, how do you play him in a tank role where he's as mobile as Wrecking Ball, unless you have a team to match that, but then he's not really covering you from anything and has that survivability, so definitely a huge learning curve coming out from there, and they're not going to stick with it. Instead, they're just going to stick with more of a traditional attack comp, very high-speed dive, along with Not Lost, able to get the first elimination with BBQ on this Torb once again. Seems the Wolves need to find a pick here, but unable to, even with this Pharmacy taken down by the turret. Daydream is going to have to come in with the rest to bring back Not Lost.
King Swiffer jumped in by themselves on that Monkey, and that absolutely did not end up working for them. And they're going to do it again with a little bit more support this time. Daydream on that Mercy with them and giving them, they are unable to find any eliminations, except the Law will get Joe, which is pretty big.
Yeah, so they're at least +1 in this fight and have spawn advantage, so the Wolves should push this advantage. Illusion falling very low will get healed up by the Mercy, who's playing out of her mind. The Barrage is going to come out, unable to keep her alive, but picks up both supports. Gets the Cyclone's cart, getting free progress this whole time. It's exactly what you want to see if you're a fan of the Wolves.
And especially because that res came out, ultimately dying during the Barrage wasn't of great consequence, which is one of those main reasons that you want to have a Mercy to support your Pharah.
Yeah, Pharmacy just being that wombo combo. Surprised we haven't seen an Echo yet as well. Well, everyone's just been sticking to the Pharah, but you see all of the Wolves taking that high ground and then rotating around through the backline to start contesting the cart. Definitely an interesting play. Working out for them in strides as the Law coming in with a triple against the Cyclones, quickly followed by Daydream, even rezzing back the one elimination Cyclones could get. Law finishing that out with a Penta by his lonesome, just doesn't get the team kill.
C-Squared is having a really unfortunate time on this Brig against the Pharmacy, and Illusions now and Not Lost have the Nano Blade, should they choose to use it to secure this second point here.
So the Law is going to continue their rain of fire against the Cyclones, even taking down Shy on that bat. Continue to just push the cart forward uncontested. So now they're just going to continue pushing forward with the Nano Blade. Is Nano Blade. He's very low. Will get taken down by the Gravitic Flux before getting elimination. And forcing out the Molten Core from BBQ to answer it, along with C-Squared bringing out the Rally, Daydream bringing out the Valkyrie, as well as the Primal Rage, as BBQ gets the elimination with the Lava, taking down Not Lost. King Swiffer falling very low, even with Primal Rage, gets burned down as C-Squared gets the boop and the elimination.
This might be the end of the Wolves' push here, as they are now just down there Pharmacy and DPS here. They don't really have anything to hold, but so they have to give up space just beyond the plane. If they lose Daydream here, they'll have to give up all their space and go back to spawn.
Reset could help the mindset of them, but they're just going to go right back into it. As you can see, King Swiffer flying in.
Yikes.
But Holy Chump gets first elimination against Illusion. Now quickly followed by Joe taking down the Law, so Daydream's going to have to res Illusion as BBQ gets a triple here. The Tor just comes in with his hammer swinging.
The Cyclones have done something really, really big here. Because the Wolves were unable to push cleanly through second point, now this is one of the hardest high grounds to attack in the game. We've seen tons of teams stopped here, both in competitive play, but also if you're just playing the game at home. Watch point, second point, Gibraltar. If you get knocked off and both of these doors close, it's really tough and almost takes a miracle to push this point.
You can see the Law target prioritizing all those utilities, turret first, Immortality Field, then the guy who can throw the Immortality Field, as Shy is going to be first blood of this team fight. Holy Chump's going to answer it with the Gravitic Flux, quickly followed by Illusion now taking down C-Squared. The Law getting a two-piece, now on a 3-kill streak here for this fight, taking down both DPS. This might be the checkpoint.
That immediate elimination on the Shai-Pingy before the fight even started was definitely the miracle that the Wolves needed to push this second point here from the high ground. And at this point, the Cyclones have to try not to get staggered.
BBQ falling very low, has to pick up the health back to survive the rotate. Will end up making it as well, but Cyclones having those 3 ultimates as well as the Wolves. I mean, Wolves are about to have Nano Blade online, so that's something that you hope Cyclones are calling out.
And hopefully it goes better for the Wolves than their first Nano Blade.
Hopefully. So there it is. We'll see if he's able to pick up 1. He gets the Immortality Field. There's 1, there's 2, even denies the Deadeye. Hey, that's a triple, that's a 4th. Gets taken down by the Lava at the end. Almost getting the Penta. Will end up getting rezzed. Huge push on the cart as well, just all out deny on that spawn point. Guys, remember there is a secondary. The barrage to the face. Huge denial from the Law. Even the contest coming out from Joe, buying them a little bit more time. Wrecking Ball swap over for the Holy Chub. BBQ now on the Junkrat as well as C-Squared on the Moira. All out stall here and Deeps. As Shai is able to take down Not Lost, and BBQ takes down the Law. Excuse me, as Daydream gets the res off. Quick fall by Illusion now taking down on BBQ. Shai is taking down Lost. Holy Chub takes down Daydream. Shai takes down King Swiffer. That should be the end of their push. Finally.
The Cyclones won the individual 1v1s on cart, and it looks like they're going to swap back to a more favorable comp. We see the Sigma, we see the Ashe, and the Brig come back for C-Square, the Holy Chub, and BBQ there. And BBQ is back on the DPS role, and the Holy Chub is back on that main tank role there, possibly because the Holy Chub is their, might be their Sigma expert, is what I'm thinking of. Shai-Pingy also swaps to that Baptiste, so now they do have a main heals here other than the Brig.
Yeah, and BBQ on this Ashe getting value already, taking down the Law very quickly, making sure to get that anti-air. Quickly followed by Joe, taking down the Mercy, so that's no res, and down 2 members. Cyclones are going to have to play very safe here, or the Wolves are going to have to play very safe here, my bad, as Holy Chub gets a 2-piece and Joe finishes them off. That's another reset for the Wolves. At least they have 120 to burn.
Play safe or just wipe. Those are your options once you're down the Vara and the Mercy for attempting to go for that res there. The Law will have to play much more conservatively than they have been this whole Gibraltar, just because there is now a hit scan looking for them.
Yeah, BBQ on this Ashe is definitely going to be that priority target for the Cyclones so that the Law can have free range of the skies. Instead, Illusion Owl is just going to go in for the Genji Blade without Nano. And you can see why you never do that, because BBQ immediately gets eliminated, quickly followed by Joe with the Death Blossom, getting a double onto the Pharmacy, surprisingly. They were just too low on the ground, and Joe finishes off King Swifter.
Illusions now is going to swap over that Echo that you were thinking about. Might get some value there. And at that point, that is half their team, or more than half of their team, because it's 5v5 now, in the air. And it's just up to BBQ and maybe whatever Shai-Pingy feels like contributing to get them out.
Great Dynamite, burning a lot of them down as Holy Chub gets the elimination, forcing out the res. That's a cooldown burn that the Cyclones can definitely play around. Now Daydream bringing out the Valkyrie to try to keep his teammates in the fight and go with this push. A great barrage taking down both supports as BBQ finally is able to get the refrag for his teammates as he gets taken down by Illusion now, who gets taken down by Joe. Still consistent trades, but you got to remember Cyclones have the spawn advantage, and with the Wolves losing that many members now, even both supports, that might be the end of their push, and they can't give it up here because it's overtime as Joe's coming in with 2 eliminations, quickly followed by C-Squared, now bringing out the Raleigh, pushing forward, taking space, and that's the round.
They lost their DPS, and that was something that the Wolves could not afford to lose there, both of them. Even if you are trading as DPS approaching this final point, just because enemy respawns are so close, you can't afford for both of your DPS to trade, especially in this 5v5.
Yeah, so I mean, without the Wolves got what? 0.85 meters away from finishing. I mean,
close.
They were there, or they just needed that last little oomph from the denial. But the Cyclones having that spawn advantage, that tail end, that's where it just all comes down to, where so many teams just get stopped. So we'll have, and as you mentioned, they also bought a lot of time on point 2. They were just stuck indoors for way too long. So Cyclones burned off a ton of time there against the Wolves. So now with Cyclones going on the attack, This is an attack Widow.
And it definitely worked for them before on that Widowmaker, so I expect it to have similar results here, especially if the Wolves are just going to run that Orisa. There's only one shield for the Wolves to play around, and with the Widowmaker one-shot, they should be very scared.
Maybe the idea for the Wolves is try to use turret to distract Widow and go for the elimination or something? Big brain plays? Who knows?
Distract Widowmaker with the turret, and it does look like they will swap over to the Cold Cassidy there.
Nope, swaps again. Echo without a Pocket Mercy. All right, I respect it. Have to wait and see how it'll pay off. Already dashing, trying to deny this high ground. No member on the cart, though. Hopefully we can see Ana at least swap over on that Shy to start getting pressure, but with no one on the cart and BBQ eliminated first, Cyclones haven't gained anything.
And maybe BBQ needs to swap over. Swapping over to the Genji, they will have similar problems that the Tracer did against that Torbjorn.
Holy Chub comes flying in, immediately stops before hitting anybody, uses shield. It's kind of hit and run tactics right now as the Law takes down Joe. Cyclones are nowhere near each other other than two members. Guys, there's a cart. Guys.
I think they're trying to win the fight before they push the cart, and honestly, they haven't even been able to take them off of this high ground, so the cart wouldn't get very far even if they were pushing it.
Which finally someone decided, hey, let's move it at least a couple feet. As well as BBQ swapping over to the Genji. They need to make something happen here, and a great pay by the Law, able to take down Shy, but he will get taken down by Joe with the refrag. So finally a bit of a team push happening in the high ground. Definitely a lot of pressure being applied to this Orisa, who did get a health buff up to 550 this time around. As Daydream and Illusion now even things out, getting two more. Molten Core coming out, Hope finally dropping off the high ground to get those eliminations as he gets one more. This Torbjorn's kind of been having a field day here.
This Orisa is working much, much better than the Orisa we saw on Gibraltar, and we love to see that, especially with her health buff of the 550 there. We love to see teams playing around their Orisa, and we love to see as many viable heroes as we possibly can.
Yeah, so now with the Law taking down BBQ, Cyclones just are not getting a foothold right now. It's costing them a ton of time with 1:50 remaining. Yeah, Orisa can't get back up there to hold the high ground, but at least she can shoot up the shield to prevent her teammates from taking that much more poke. Law barely missing a shot. Does have Deadeye online. Could be the playmaker, but you gotta watch out for the Nano Blade.
BBQ's gonna take down Illusions now, which might be the push that the Cyclones are looking for with Illusions now.
Ooh. Joe with the duplicate taken down immediately by the Law. There's the Nano Blade from BBQ, able to pick up one. Followed by Joe picking up one more. Holy Chub getting one of their own, and C squared. Kills spread across the board. Finally, though, it only took them 4 minutes, and the cart's on the move.
Eliminate Illusion, win the game, question mark? That's definitely what that felt like there as BBQ got the elimination onto Illusions, and then they were just able to push through the blade and some other things. That's pretty big.
Yeah, main heals down. They are able to take down BBQ as an answer to it, as C-Squared wins the battle of the bricks with the shield bash. But High able to take down King Swifter. Holy Chub picking up one more. Illusion now falls down. They continue their push and get the checkpoint, so at least they have a bit more time to work with.
And at this point, the Wolves just need to set back up as a full team on this high ground and not focus on stopping the cart just yet. That will come once they get set up.
Yeah, it's going to be all... Ooh, great sticky mines onto that break, dropping her very low, but that's why you have the Ana right behind her. Turret goes down immediately, has to be focused out. BBQ went in by themselves. Hopes got taken down. Deadeye's going to come out from the Law. Perfect drop down time to take down C squared. Joe at this point is just tickling them by himself, and will have to end up leaving as the Law picks up Shy, and I believe Joe's the only one here in the fight for his team.
Joe definitely did some work there, but the rest of their team wasn't able to capitalize on that, so now the Wolves get their opportunity to set up the most optimal place for them.
3 health.
Oh, that's 3 health in a dream there. You got to think Joe needs some more. Oh,
he sees he's there. He knows he's low. Illusion even bring out the hammer. Let's go. Can we see the elimination? Do it to him. Aww. He ran away.
They'll be unable to do it to him, but the Law is going to follow up on that as the Wolves are set up in this plane on the high ground.
No DPS remaining. Huge right clicks coming out from Illusion. That's a triple for the Law with the help of the Illusion the entire time, as well as Shy landing an amazing sleep to take down Holy Chubb.
Does look like Illusions is going to be taken weak there. They are playing the health pack, it looks like.
No!
Oh, they will get eliminated by some sticky bombs.
Engineer down. But Joe's able to at least get traded out by the Law. Law's been popping off on this Cole Cassidy right now. Oh, now with the mines coming out from Holy Chubb, slept once again. Sadly, the Orisa immediately wakes him up, so that is lost value for them. But Law is able to take down Shy as the Molten Core comes out for Illusion. Once again, back down to a minute remaining. They've burned 2 minutes off the clock against the Cyclones.
And unless the Cyclones can do something to get the Law off of that high ground, they're not going to be able to take this point.
So what are you hoping to see from them to try to take this point then?
Well, they could just Nano Blade the Law, and there's not a whole lot of Soul Cole Cassidy can do about that because the initial flashbang isn't quite enough to kill a Nano Blading Genji.
There it is. Immediately goes for Daydream, so that's a breakdown. Deadeye comes out, throws up. Oh, perfect time! Even with the drop shot, Law still takes down BBQ, who didn't listen to your advice, I guess, and didn't focus him down as C squared. It seems they must have buffed Break Bash because that's the third time we've seen Bash get the elimination.
Big purple.
Yeah, huge purple with that anti-onto both King Swifter and the Law, but no elimination comes from it. Instead, the Supercharger will go down and quickly eliminate it, but not before the Law picks up one. Now BBQ gets 2 more as main tank, main heals go down. Shy able to take down the break, but the Law comes in, unable to get the elimination as he's eliminated by BBQ, and that's the checkpoint.
That was close. That was a little bit too close for comfort in terms of the Cyclones finally pushing that point, but they did end up getting it, which is great. Illusion going to get that elimination onto BBQ yet again. The Holy Chubb not able to follow up on Daydream.
No tank players have swapped off of these heroes just yet. A good disrupt from the Holy Chubb to push them out from under that shield, but it will end up costing them their life, so wasn't really worth it. Ooh, a minute remaining though. Cyclones don't have a lot of time to work with here to try to beat out the Wolves with the time remaining. And with this being a best of 3, this is all holds bar defense for the Wolves if they want to stay in this. Or all holds attack.
Is completely behind them. That is not a wise decision here.
Sneaky Torb, activate.
He's trying.
Ooh.
Not able to get anything. Should be back before the next engage, though, so that might not have cost them that much there.
I mean, it's the time that they have to worry about. 30 seconds remaining. Great slam down from the Holy Chubb with the mines. Unable to get elimination just yet, but a great double Deadeye here from the Law. Able to take down both Joe and Holy Chubb. Should make them +2 in this fight. They did bring out the Nano for the Wolves, so that's a little bit of lost value for them, unless the Nano was on the Deadeye, which in that case, perfect play.
And it looks like the Torbolt is going to kind of seal the fate there as it comes out all around the cart.
Exactly what he needed to do. +1 in this fight already. Make that +2. Main heals down for the Cyclones. Could spell doom, sending us to a map 3. Wolves doing their best defense of their life as Law takes down C squared. Definitely should have listened to your advice of the key player you need to take out here is the Law. He's getting value again and again and again. I'm surprised we just haven't seen the swap to D.Va at this point with how many Deadeyes he's landed as Daydream now coming in with a 2-piece. Illusion now picking up 1 more. The Wolves are refusing to lose a single member even as the Nano Blade comes out for the Cyclones, and that will be it. Wolves end up holding them, sending us to a map 3.
I think the Wolves got much more value on their DPS there, which is no BM to Joe or BBQ just because they were running, I mean, at the end of their Tracer Genji, but for most of the map, at least a Genji into Cole Cassidy and Torbjorn. And that matchup is just not going to work for you, and it didn't. And so because of that, the Wolves were just able to pop off and do insane things. And the Law on that Cassidy felt unstoppable almost.
Yeah, definitely the difference between a Genji main and a Cole Cassidy main in that situation of just Illusion got some good value, but anytime he went in without the nano, died immediately. Went in 1v1, tried a law, immediately died. Even with Nano Blade, we had the perfect POV of had the Deadeye, ran out of deflect, drop shot, got the elimination, and then Law continued to get more eliminations. Was just brutal. So the Wolves had an excellent defense on the back of the Law. So now heading over to King's Row for a map 3. This is do or die for both these teams.
And with the setup, the way this is currently looking, the Law and Daydream are going to have to be very careful of Joe on that Widowmaker because they might choose to stay Widowmaker.
I mean, Widowmaker definitely works early on trying to get it unless they hold behind the hotel, so it's definitely going to be who can you read, but Widow's actually on the defense and gets the Law immediately, even with a Pocket Mercy, so that's the res burn for the next 30 seconds as BBQ gets the next elimination against King Swifter. So that's no main tank for the Wolves. Yes, they have spawn advantage, but that's just that much more time burned off the clock.
Fulcrum is weak and trying. Joe's going to do it to him again, and that is not a 30-second interval there.
Ooh.
Not Lost and Illusions are also going to go down in that room to the Fulcrum and BBQ, and at this point, the Wolves are just swapping.
Not even holding out the gateway, just holding back on point, lobbing in with the flame strikes, getting the eliminations has been brutal. Wolves having to try to re-strategize, going off the pharmacy because Widow's popping off for Joe. Law now on the Junkrat and Daydream over on the Ana.
Because of that Junkrat, the Cyclones win if the Wolves come in that room, and Fulcrum's going to get the elimination onto King Swiffer as well.
Yeah, it's a good start to this fight. Hey, main tank down, DPS down, who's just doing phenomenally. I expect him to swap over to a Cole Cassidy anytime at this point, just with how well they were doing, but Wolves have yet to really touch this point.
Illusions now is going to get going to get eliminated, by BBQ, and that's just the Wolves getting staggered at this point.
They need to have a clean reset here, and Joe's continuing to just get free ult percentage here.
Fulcrum's the one getting a lot of eliminations as well as BBQ and Joe, but Shy Pingy, I think, is the MVP for speeding all these people around and into the Wolves.
I mean, Cyclones have 3 ults here. In a perfect time, Amplification Matrix gets sleeved. So there goes the shatter from the Cyclones, leading to the first elimination with BBQ taking down King Swifter, quickly followed by a triple from him against the Law and Daydream as well. Quickly followed by Fulcrum, who's on that returning tank roll against Not Lost. Illusion now on the Reaper taking down Shy. At least he gets one.
Can't push in the building with a Junkrat. Even if you have your own Junkrat, the defensive Junkrat has the advantage going into that room.
Yeah, wall hacks are going to come out for the Widow of Joe, leading to the elimination of Illusion now C squared. Herod takes down Illusion now, so at least trading out their Reaper for Reaper. But with Battle of the Reinhardts here, her team's Fulcrum will get the charge first, but King Swifter has the healing. So it's just swinging at each other nonstop. Illusion now does have the Death Blossom if he can get back in time.
Oh, no.
Can't use it. Instead, he's just going to get the elimination against C-Squared. And King Swifter will win that battle against Fulcrum. But BBQ will come back with the Tire to take down the Law, keeping his team in the fight for as long as they can, contesting it. Joe doing work as well, able to take down the Immortality Field, but with no team on the point, might be the end of it. Seems Cyclones try to bring it back, but Shy will get eliminated. So there's the shatter from Fulcrum, able to land on the 2 members. That forces out the Death Blossom to get the refrag for his teammate.
Getting that elimination on the Fulcrum is huge. BBQ getting the elimination on King Swiffer is just as big, though, but at this point, the Cyclones have run out of bodies after a valiant first point attempt at defense.
I mean, they held them for so long. So now the Wolves are just going to need to have some amazing aggressive pushes to just make up for so much lost time and hopefully not forget about the card.
Looks like they're definitely not, as they have that single member on there. The Cyclones have swapped Joe over to the Pharah without a Pocket Mercy, but the Wolves don't really have anything to answer the Pharah.
Yeah, so instead the Law will get the next elimination against Shy. You win the ground game, what can the air do against you? Losing that Lucio just buys you that much more time, but they took a lot of space, so the Law's going to continue his rampage, taking down BBQ as well.
After losing their Lucio, the Cyclones really should have backed up a little bit more there now that the Lucio's back, but they still don't have their Junkrat. So holding this corner, they must do very carefully.
Yeah, it's definitely a game of cat and mouse, right? Who's going to make the first move? And instead, it's going to be the Law with an amazing tire. That's a triple. No supports remaining. Joe's down as well. That should be a free second checkpoint if you guys stayed on the card.
Waited for the Immortality Field to come out, saw his opportunity, and took it as BBQ is going to get hard staggered as well as Fulcrum. Just almost in their spawn there as BBQ and Joe are taking a lot of space.
Yeah, finally able to take the card. Almost a little bit of C9 there, just saying, hey, we got killed, let's keep going. Oh, wait, the objective. Joe's back on Cole Cassidy. Has to be announced. He's back, and back with a vengeance. I'll have to watch out for Joe.
Emoting the cart just sitting there.
I mean, C-Spro did bring out the Amplification Matrix to try to zone him out from cart, but the cart's still going forward as Joe gets the elimination against Law, but with a great Death Blossom in the background, will not get the elimination because BBQ is there to answer it. So now Not Lost is going to have to bring out the sound barrier, but it's not enough. BBQ's getting a quad.
BBQ did get the quad, but I think the unsung hero of that fight was Joe with that flashbang, because that was going to be huge if it went off, but it didn't.
Seems the Cole Cassidys in these matchups have just been game-defining.
Cole Cassidy seems to be even better in 5v5 than he was in 6v6.
Now you only have to flashbang one tank. Easy peasy, especially if it's a Rhine, so that's just no shield. So he's having a field day, gets the first elimination against the Lucio. Now BBQ taking down Illusion, who swapped over to the Hanzo. Fulcrum gets the Flame Strike elimination against the Law, who's now on his own Cole Cassidy, but he can't do anything against Joe, who gets a two-piece, and BBQ finishes it off, taking down the Lucio again.
The Cyclones didn't have a great second point hold, but they had a great first point hold, and now they're so far having a great third point hold. Fulcrum wants to be cheeky, and BBQ's there to back him up, and things end up going poorly for them. But Fulcrum does not care, because Fulcrum will just get all the eliminations themselves. King Swiffer lands the counter pin, but is unable to live.
And just like that, that's a team kill and two ultimates. Just like that.
And BBQ was the only one punished for their huge aggression, which feels real bad, but Fulcrum and Joe popped off.
Worth. Sacrifices were made.
Worth, you're right.
I mean, now BBQ has the tire along with the Amplification Matrix. Two ultimates could easily lead to another ace that we just saw, but not when Daydream gets first elimination against Joe. So there's the Amplification Matrix, there's the tire, immediately eliminated. Must have been scouted out by Illusion. And on this Hanzo, who also immediately takes out BBQ. And Law on this Cole Cassidy is such a huge threat as he takes down Shy. Cyclones have to retreat.
You don't typically want to run a tire into an Amplification Matrix where they're already spamming, because it'll get eliminated every time.
Yeah, so now hopefully we can see the Wolves change things, or the Cyclone change things up a little bit. Still going to stick to it.
Fulcrum.
A huge double damage, but Fulcrum's just going to eat it to the face, and he's going to suffer for that. But now the Law with some great aim going to take down BBQ out of the sky, with King Swifter finishing off Joe, and the Law using the Deadeye for the zoning capabilities. Perfectly timed to take down Shy and win the round.
The Law saw him keep peeking behind that box, and he's like, I want it. Do it again. Do it again. I dare you. And then the Reinhardt walked in, and the Deadeye came out.
Patience is a virtue, and it worked out for the Law. I mean, as soon as he swapped over to the Cole Cassidy, they just got the ball rolling for point 3 and just couldn't be stopped there. Cyclone's having a real issue trying to stop them. BBQ, after using that tire, I would have liked him to see his swap off the Junkrat.
It is really unfortunate that we're not seeing a Mei, because this is one of the maps where Mei would be good if she would, like, if there's a map that would be defined as a Mei map, it would be First Point Kings Row, and neither team, and actually right as I say that, the Law is going to pull out the Mei, because I would really like to see how the Mei changes have affected her as a hero on this hugely Mei prevalent map in Overwatch 1.
We saw a little bit on Oasis, but maybe a minute at most, and then quickly swapped off, so we couldn't really see her potential there. And then they brought her back for like the tail end of a 30-second match, so it was just, couldn't really see a lot of her utility. Hopefully it's not the case of her changes are bad rather than they just haven't been in the right situation, but at the same time, if you look at the Wolves lineup, they're going with a Mei Junkrat, not really the traditional wall and maul we see with the Cole Cassidy.
I think it definitely still counts as a wall and maul, especially because all the Junkrats we've seen have been popping off
Very true.
all night. I think that is one. Overwatch 2 fans, if you're a Junkrat main, this is the game for you, because Junkrat seems way more prevalent in competitive play here than he ever was in Overwatch 1.
It's been a bloody matchup for all of these. I mean, it's just been brawl, brawl, brawl. It's not been a whole lot of, all right, fight, hard reset. It's just been trickle in, continue to brawl. But a huge engage from the Cyclones that actually goes very much in their favor as King Swift are falling very low. No elimination just yet, but BBQ's falling very low, down to half HP. Instead, it's going to get the first elimination against Not Lost, and that's both supports gone for the Wolves. Now main tank done as well. That should be the point, with Cyclones getting a triple here, soon to be a quad.
The Law made a valiant effort stalling, but didn't end up working out for them at all. Joe is the price there, but ultimately a small price to pay for a one fight and first point, because the Wolves aren't going to be able to retouch this with a full team, especially if BBQ just keeps eliminating them all.
Yeah, BBQ with this Junkrat has just been an all-out aggressor. Now Joe over on the Cole Cassidy this time around. BBQ is not the person you want being on the cart after just what they popped off, but he's not needed because Fulgrim with a two-man shatter is going to get both of those eliminations with the help of Joe. Oh, getting one more. So both of the Cyclones can continue pushing forward with that kind of 4-1 split being a 5-5 now.
The Law is swapped over to the Cole Cassidy, so we'll see if they'll be able to get more value on that than the Mei here. Illusion's now Illusion Overwatch currently losing the battle of the Junkrats, but I believe they have the ability to turn it around, especially on this third point defense here where the Cyclones are trying to hold them.
I mean, this is the point you want to hold them just to get as much free card distance as possible. And look at the time difference. By the time the Wolves were this far, they had at most 2 minutes. Now Cyclones have 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the board, so the Wolves are going to have to try to push it back with both support ultimates coming out, but the Law will end up getting eliminated. But at least he traded out for Fulcrum of the main heals of the Cyclones, so the Wolves are having a very good anti-push, but the Cyclones bring it back with elimination to both supports and main tank answering back the Wolves. Illusion now brings up the tire to at least eliminate BBQ, but the cart is still moving forward.
And now Fulcrum is back on that cart, so they have their Reinhardt to hold this third point. And the Wolves at this point, they have, as we get to third point with 3 minutes and 46 seconds remaining, Joe's going to go down, so is Illusion's. Fulcrum is going to take out the Law. Daydream's just going to try to contest and be eliminated immediately after that. The ET Wolves are just running out of bodies to throw on the point, and the Cyclones are going to get that with 5 minutes and 2 seconds remaining here. And the Wolves have to have the defense of their lives here, third point.
Yeah, because for 5 minutes on point 3, yeah, you have the spawn advantage, but that can only last you for so long before it's just all out throw bodies on cart and hope for the best.
We've seen teams hold this for 5 minutes, though. We've seen it happen.
It's totally possible. They just need to continue having
not
plays like that. Yeah, and they're off to a really rough start, losing Illusion at the start of the fight. Now Tyre taking down Fulcrum. Now taking down Daydream. BBQ's just on a tear as Not Lost finally is able to answer it, taking down Fulcrum, and BBQ falls to the now spawn Illusion on this Hanzo, but Joe's denying their counter push by taking down Not Lost. They're just going to have to hold here.
Fulcrum overstayed their welcome, and then immediately after that, BBQ got logged by Illusion swapping with the unexpected Hanzo pick, and that was the end of the Cyclones' first push. But, I mean, the benefit of getting to third point with 5 minutes is they've still got about 6 more fights.
Definitely a lot of room to just say, hey, let's try this. Hey, let's try this. And, you know, see what works. Maybe they just get really lucky pick here and there.
There it is again.
Oh, that's the exact lucky pick that the Wolves needed to deny that push. But Illusion now went down to that 25 HP, playing it very risky, but buys them that much more time.
Illusion doing a fantastic job on that high ground there with that Hanzo. If Illusion, if all they do is eliminate BBQ, this will be a successful hold.
Yeah, so bringing out the Deadeye for Joe in that high ground, unable to secure it. Instead, Joe will just get the normal elimination against Daydream. I mean, as Illusion now brings out the Double Dragons to try to split up the members of the Cyclones. Instead, BBQ's just going to get the elimination against Not Lost. And a great shatter coming out from Fulcrum is going to lead to the elimination of King Swifter and Not Lost. And he's even going to corner poor old Illusion now, and Daydream falls. This might be point 3 unless Cyclones just, or unless the Wolves can just amass an all-out stall here.
Doesn't look like they will be able to stall very long, as that point is going to get capped.
3:32 a minute.
Yikes.
Things are not looking good for the Wolves.
Taking 2 minutes off, though, is pretty good. Like, it's always a sad day when they get to third point with 5 minutes remaining, but getting 2 minutes off is about an average amount. Like, usually third point people come there only with 2 minutes, and so if the Cyclones had done a better job defending second and first point, 2 minutes would have been an acceptable amount to defend. But because they came at that with 5, unfortunate.
So for the side of the defense, I mean, I would hope the Wolves are attacking first. And they have a minute.
They don't really have time to lose a fight, because with 3 minutes and 32 seconds, the Cyclones definitely have enough time to get it all the way to third point. The Wolves, with a minute, they're going to have 2 initial fights on this first point, and then they're probably going to be taken, and even if they cap first point, they're going to be taken to overtime sometime in second, so then they'll have to win that second point there. The Wolves definitely have an overhill battle.
And also you have to remember, when we were first on this, Wolves took the longest to get the first point, whereas Cyclones did it in 2 fights. Pretty much 1.5 if you count it, because they just kept fighting nonstop. So Wolves are looking very risky here, and opening up with a very interesting comp of King Swifter on the Winston and the Law and the Genji with Illusion now on the Reaper.
I think they're trying to do something unexpected, but I don't know if this particular unexpected thing is going to work against the Brawl comp.
It's definitely the definition of an uphill battle, and standing around not attacking the point is not what you want, especially when you lose your main heals right off to the start of it, as the Law is able to get a double elimination. But if Fulcrum comes back, gets 2 more of his own, and a great flame strike on a Daydream, sniped her down. Illusion now, though, being the anti-tank, is able to stay on the point, keep his team in the game.
I gotta say, that deflect onto the Junkrat mine, I think, is what gave them this fight, because that eliminated not only BBQ, but also C-squared, and that gave them the chance that they needed off of that Genji deflect. And definitely other members came alive as well, but I think that first point goes to the Law. If you're a Wolves fan, you want to thank your Genji right now.
Law is going to have their back broken by the end of this with how hard they are carrying. And also, you have to feel so bad for Illusion now, who's probably a Genji main, and then Law comes in and just goes, I'll show you how it's done, and gets a triple like that. Ooh, great shatter, though, coming out from the Cyclones. Unable to lead to elimination. Instead, they're just going to have to go on the aggressive, and the Winston gets pinned and have to stay alive with the Nano. No Nano blade. Instead, the Law just goes in by himself and gets the elimination. That's 4 down, and that's the team kill.
And Illusion does still have their Reaper ultimate to win this next fight. So the Wolves might actually be able to take this second point here with a well-placed Reaper ultimate, as long as they shoot the tire.
It's going to be between the tire and the Death Blossom. Who pulls it out first and who gets the elimination? I mean, hopefully BBQ target prioritizes the Reaper, because he's been such an issue killing Fulcrum as quickly as possible. Oh, so he will bring out the tire first and gets a huge triple, and that's the end of it. Nobody was on cart.
Well, because the 3 people that were on the cart were immediately blown up and eliminated by the Junkrat tire. And honestly, great job, BBQ.
I mean, you literally credit him with you winning that round, because he won the round with 1 ability, which is just amazing, to say the least. So now, Cyclones on attack, Wolves on defense. Wolves did pretty well on attack, I would say. I mean, they almost got to checkpoint 2. They were right there, but well-placed tire ended it all.
Just came down to the ultimate.
So now Cyclones having 3 minutes 30. unless the Wolves just become gods here, defend no matter what, never lose a team fight, they could probably lose 1 or 2 at best, but it's so hard to regroup for point 2 once the ball gets rolling after the point is captured and you get past that archway.
This is hugely favored for the Cyclones right now because most teams are able to cap point 2 in 3 minutes and 32 seconds, so they don't have to, like, this isn't a stretch for them. This isn't a stretch for most teams. The Wolves will really have to pull it out and kind of like they have to elevate themselves if they want to win.
Especially now, oh, well, I was going to say Joe's back on the Widow, but he went back to the Colt Cassidy. The Law might be in trouble here.
Especially on that Genji. So it'll be up to the Law to recognize that they're in trouble, running into Colt Cassidy Junkrat, and hopefully swap.
I mean, he doesn't really have the time to swap. They need to just hold him here as long as they can, and they won't be able to do so with BBQ getting a double onto both supports. That's immediate victory for the Cyclones on point 1. The flashbang, exactly. The Law, you have to swap immediately. And hopefully the Torb as well.
First point was going to be the Wolves' best opportunity to hold them.
And they just got rolled.
Now they have to. The Law is going to swap off of the Genji onto the Colt Cassidy. Just they're like, I don't like that Junkrat. I don't like that Cassidy.
But Illusion now is staying on the Torb. It's not ideal.
I think it is. I think it definitely can work, especially in the Brawl versus Brawl comp. I think they might struggle to get their turret in a favorable position, but I think Torb Ultimate and Torb Spam is big in Brawl.
Have to wait and see how that will pan out, as turret was second eliminated in that brief little engagement, but the Cyclones even making sure to have 3 members on the cart just to have that much more of a time advantage. Great timing on that amplification matrix being line of sight. Sadly, the shatter will go right into King Swifter's shield. And there's the Tor value that I was skeptical about, taking down BBQ, who and the Molten Core with the amplification matrix, forcing Cyclones for a reset.
I think one ultimate or the other ultimate would have held that for the Wolves, and I think because they used both at the same time, I think that gives the Cyclones an excellent push here because they don't have to really be afraid of anything else, as the Law is still not quite to that Deadeye.
Good Flame Strike, building a ton of ult percentage. Once again, flashbang onto King Swifter, taking down the shield for a little bit extra damage. Forcing out the sound barrier from Shot, as well as the Deadeye, who gets flashbanged out of it as Daydream brings out her own sound barrier. Now the Shatter coming out for King Swifter, doesn't land onto anybody, but falling very low. Holcomb has his own built up, throws it down, and that's a triple, leading into 3 members down, now 4. That might be the checkpoint because they could just take the space and hold them back.
If they had 3 on cart, they would have been able to get this, I think, immediately before the Wolves recontest, but because they didn't have 3 on cart the whole time, the Law's going to get there first on that Colt Cassidy. Baptiste goes up to duel him, which isn't necessarily a great idea. Joe's going to take down Daydream.
Yeah, Tyre comes out for BBQ, who only able to eliminate the Immortality field as Fulcrum is able to pick up King Swifter, but the Log comes back with the Deadeye takedown C-Squared, but BBQ takes him down as a refrag with Shy taking down Not Lost, Joe finishing off the Torb, and that's the round for the Cyclones.
And that was super favored to the Cyclones again. No BM to the Wolves. There are not a lot of teams that can hold first point for 3 minutes and 32 seconds before it even gets to second point. So I will say they definitely gave it a good effort.
Yeah, so, I mean, Cyclones had a hard loss against Tsunamis round 1, brought it back against the Wolves, so huge props to them. They have the potential. But if you want to be seen by expert college recruiters, talk directly to esports industry insiders like pro athletes, team general managers, and game producers, then join the club. Esports Tower players get insider access to industry insights with our featured rumbles. Recruiters are taking notice too. It's a great way to score exposure if you're looking to start your path to pro or land a collegiate scholarship. Well, with that wrapping up week 3 of the Spring Rumble, these 2 really close matches, very unexpected, have to lead into player of the game for the night. I mean, my go-to is hard not to say the Law with how well they were doing. Because they were carrying the Wolves on their back for
especially on Gibraltar.
Oh, especially. I mean, that was the one map that they won, I believe.
Yeah.
So makes sense. But if you take a look at the Cyclones, who win one, lost one, they swapped out a lot of players. They had each of their moments. I would lean towards Joe for their team.
So I know we normally go for the DPS, and that's actually the Cole Cassidy's for both sides. Joe and the Law were mostly the Cole Cassidy's, and they were huge. I will say that. But I also want to specifically highlight Fulcrum on the Reinhardt, just because they were very consistent in having success with that brawl. I would say Fulcrum was one of the better Reinhardts that we saw tonight, and we saw a lot.
That is very true. We did see a lot of Reinhardt, but it was nice that we did see every tank, or at least all the original tanks besides new Doomfist. We didn't see new Bastion, which we talked about a little bit in between streams, which makes sense. He's not really favored in 5v5 as he's just target priority 1 of Bastion. So,
yes. And I think people also are unfamiliar with the Bastion changes as well. Like, I don't feel like Doomfist is a tank and new Bastion are necessarily bad heroes because we haven't seen them yet. I think people don't really know how to play around them or with them yet.
Learning curve.
Yes,
it's a new thing. No one's really touched it yet. It's just kind of give it its time, let it, brew and just see where it goes, what needs to be changed maybe, because as we mentioned, this is competitive testing. So it's very much just R&D. All right, what's this look like? And I hope we do see Mei improve a little bit. She seemed kind of out of place. Like, they tried her. She didn't really work out, swapped off.
So I think the thing with Mei is not that Mei is bad, but I think she is outclassed in the brawl by Junkrat, is what I think happened to Mei. Because we saw Junkrat, like, we almost went all season without seeing a Junkrat, and then we saw Junkrats on both teams all night, especially with the Reinhardt in the brawl. So I don't think it's that Mei's bad. I think that she's currently outclassed by Junkrat.
Which makes me want to circle back to player of the game. BBQ on the Junkrat.
Huge.
He was huge. I mean, he won the round with a single tire. Like,
yep, he sure did.
Huge props to BBQ. Could easily beat most of those DPS. And, of course, never forget the whole backline of the supports just carrying their weight. C-Squared got eliminated a lot, but Synth did it very well. But player of the game is going to go over to Illusion on the Genji.
And they were doing a great job as Genji, even though the rest of their team was Brawl. They were doing phenomenally just getting the individual value with little to no support, because what's a Brawl comp going to do for your Genji? But Illusion definitely wasn't throwing, and they were able to get consistent blade value, and Daydream opened up with this huge boop. But then Illusion got the quad kill with the blade, 2 with the blade, and then or 3, and then 1 immediately after that is not pictured. And then they did a phenomenal job here as well.
Yeah, so Illusion is going to be the player of the game, brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Illusion is going to be the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Well, as we prepare to close our matchup for the night, I mean, we only saw 2 of the 3 new teams. What are you hoping to see from the Tornadoes?
Hopefully more Brawl comps and maybe like playing more as a team, because I think the Brawl comp was most successful for most teams because everybody pretty easily knows what you're doing. Like, you just follow the Reinhardt and you win the game, and that's basically how a Brawl comp works. And of course you have like Lucio speed boost and other things to like help with that. But I hope to see, and we did see some of it tonight, but I hope to see continued dive comp usage, even though it is a little bit more complicated sometimes to go in with your tank, and it's much, much scarier as a solo Winston to have to go in and get those engagements. And I think that we'll see more of that and more success on that as the season progresses and as people get more comfortable with this new solo tanking idea.
Yeah, well, that is going to wrap it up for week 3 of our Spring Rumble. So congratulations to all the teams on a very exciting week in our Overwatch Rumble. The Everest still remain on top, undoubtedly, but with the debut performance of both the Cyclones and the Wolves, we had some impressive performances and improved quickly. We will head back in 2 weeks to see if anyone can chase down the Everest in our week 3 Rumble, or week 4 now. So make sure to come back in 2 weeks for Tuesday at 6 p.m. EST for our next Overwatch Rumble. And we're going to close out tonight with our top 5 plays of the night presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 sign-on bonus. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team to join out there, so make sure to reach out to them on Twitch at iGuard Gaming, and have a good night.